620. Tampa Bay Sports Radio. We are 95.3 W237CW Pinellas Park, WRUB HD3 Clearwater, and the mighty AM 620 WDAE St. Petersburg, an iHeart radio station.
It's time, man! The stage is set!
Welcome.
Welcome home, baby. I like this kind of party!
Putting the fun in dysfunctional.
Yeah!
Each and every weekday morning, the Pat and Aaron Show.
Is it a little too early for being that loud?
Good morning, Tampa Bay.
And here we go.
Now your hosts, Pat Donovan and Aaron Jacobson.
Good morning, goons. Welcome to the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620, coming to you live on a Waechter Wednesday, as Doug Waechter will join us for the final hour of the show. And then remember, tomorrow it'll be week 2 of Dignitary Thursday with Ian Beckles in studio. But speaking of being in studio, Aaron Jacobson has returned. And if you follow us on Instagram, or at least 95.3 WDAE, I don't know if I've collaborated yet with the Pat and Aaron Show, but at least on WDAE, you've seen that he has returned in pure Aaron Jacobson fashion to show he has recovered from COVID. He is eating overnight pie.
My appetite never left me.
Really?
It never left me.
So you were hungry the whole time?
I was hungry the whole time. I just couldn't taste.
Yeah. So you've got your taste back?
I actually gained weight. Are we live on YouTube?
We are live on YouTube and X.
Okay. Here it is. Waechter Wednesday. Just search WDA. You might have to go down a little bit. I don't know.
Well, you should be liking and subscribing. You should have subscribed by now, and then it'll be easy to find.
I did like and subscribe.
You're subscribed?
Yes.
Shouldn't be hard for you to find.
I know. I found it eventually. So, yeah, I got long COVID.
Uh-oh.
I got long COVID.
That's not allowed.
I never lost my, I never lost my appetite, just my taste and smell.
Do you have your taste back?
No.
I was going to say, because that's fast if you did.
No. Well, that's what I've been telling people.
So you're gaining weight?
Yeah, I gained 2 pounds.
Weird.
Yeah, long COVID.
You would think not tasting anything that you just wouldn't eat much. You just drink a bunch of water.
I didn't. I drink a lot of Gatorade.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Did you know? Why? Why are you wasting money on Gatorade?
I didn't want to leave my place. I ran out of water, and I cannot drink tap water from the sink in Florida.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea not to.
I've done it before.
You regretted it before.
Probably why I got COVID.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you're right. It was from a lot of other things. But
you loved me yesterday. We had a meeting with one of the guys here at iHeart yesterday, and Aaron had to be on the video stream. And the guy says, "How'd you get COVID?" And he's like, "Well, probably because I went to New York and I was like 4 days in a row at the Garden."
Yeah, I'm like, dude, what the hell? I'm trying to impress this guy, and Pat's like 4 nights at the Garden, and then Chris Mathis tells the story of how he got to iHeart, and it's a total Pat's a hero fest, which is true. It's actually how it happened. But you had quite a meeting yesterday, bud.
Well, listen. I could read. You always say read the room. I could read the room with Mark, who we met with, and I could tell that. He would appreciate that. He was not, some guys right away, like this guy's a stiff and we better not try to have any fun with this guy. And then there's guys like Mark who right away you could tell when he walked in the room, he was saying stuff right off the top of the meeting where it was like, oh, all right, this guy's one of us.
Hey, bud, we're in Waechter Wednesday.
Yeah.
Halfway through the week.
Halfway to
inching closer.
The playoffs.
Inching closer to Sunday night, big matchup. I'm getting more nervous as the week goes on. I think that's natural. As you get closer to the playoffs, like the first couple of days, you're just psyched. You won the division. You got playoff football.
Yeah.
And then we get closer, and you're like, wait, hold on. The season could all end on Sunday.
It's true. And you always think about that because it sucks because you feel so much optimism. You should. I always say, if you're good enough to get into the playoffs, you should, as a fan, even if you don't believe, like I don't think the Bucs are going to go win the Super Bowl. But as a fan, I'm going to pick them to win every game they're in the playoffs, and I'm going to feel confident that they've got a real chance because that's what I feel like you should. That's what like being a fan is about. Unless your team is like completely decimated by injury, and listen, the Buccaneers certainly have some, but the way this offense is churning, I think they can play against anybody. I'll be honest with you, Aaron. I agree with you, and I totally am on a different wavelength as to why I'm getting more nervous during the week. I am getting more nervous during the week, not because of the fact that the Buccaneers match up with the Washington Commanders on Sunday. Although I think it's going to be a very good game, and I'm certainly not thinking like, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk for the Bucs. That's not my thought process. But what is making me more nervous at this exact moment is the future for Liam Cohen as a Buccaneer. And the reason is, and listen, I'm not going to just take the word of some betting website. You know, our friend Jimmy Shapiro sent us an email. BetOnline.ag is the website we're going to be talking about here in a minute. But according to them, and I was a little concerned about this, Aaron. And again, it doesn't mean that because BetOnline.ag says it, that makes it a fact. But according to them, they've now moved Liam Cohen ahead of Ben Johnson as the favorite in Jacksonville to be the next head coach. I'll tell you why I am nervous about that, Aaron, and it really isn't about BetOnline. It was not about the website, right?
It's about what I mentioned yesterday when we talked about this job opening.
What's that?
Trevor Lawrence.
Well, that's not what makes me nervous. That's not. Because I do think that Ben Johnson would be their top choice.
For sure, but if you're an offensive-minded head coach or offensive-minded coordinator trying to become a head coach or offensive coordinator like Liam Cohen, like Ben Johnson, you're looking for a team that's got a quarterback established.
Yeah, but also, like, do you believe in Trevor Lawrence? And if you're Liam Cohen, would you rather work with Baker Mayfield than Trevor Lawrence? Like, I don't know how high he thinks Trevor Lawrence's ceiling is. To me, what makes the Jaguars scary is again, I thought, and I think most people did, that Ben Johnson was their preferred choice. And I still think that's the case. But the fact that the reports have been that he wants to, wherever he goes, he's got a guy in mind that he wants to be his GM. So he wants to go to a place where he can pick the GM as well as become the next head coach. And that's not happening, at least it doesn't look like it's happening in Jacksonville, where for some reason they kept Trent Baalke in place.
Well, you got to think that if Ben Johnson, if they really want Ben Johnson and those are his terms, the Lions are in the middle of, well, not even the middle. They're about to start a playoff run where a lot of people have them as Super Bowl contenders and maybe even the favorite to win the Super Bowl. But they're battling a lot of injuries too. Might get Montgomery back. But now, you know, you can't go and have those. I mean, you can have those discussions with him, but you can, you know, have that conversation and be like, okay, well, you know what his needs are, go through channels, you know what he wants. But by the end of it,
remember, this is a guy that's been interviewing for a couple of years now. So
no doubt. He's choosing, and you know if you're Jacksonville, he's doing that, and you know Ben Johnson's only going to choose a place where he is 100% comfortable. He has put himself in a position where he can make those demands. Not all coordinators looking for a head coaching job can do that. And by the way, Liam Cohen's in that category of one of those coordinators that can't do that. He's not there yet. He's had one successful season as an offensive coordinator in this league. Yes, he's been an offensive coordinator, but play calling and doing what he's done this year, it's the first time he's really had that. So are you going to take that Dave Canales leap, which the Panthers did last year? And if you do, I don't think you're giving him full control of whatever he wants, which is a little different situation with Ben Johnson. Ben might be in that only category as far as a guy who has never been a head coach, just a coordinator who's allowed to make those demands.
Yeah. And listen, it's to an extent, too. Like, you're not going to give him full control. You're not going to allow him to be the GM, for instance. But as far as maybe picking his guy, that's possible. But usually when a team does what the Jaguars did, which is let go of the head coach and then retain the GM, that GM's the guy who's in charge of the coaching search.
It's the conversation we've been having all season of, can you let Liam Cohen go? And if it means that you have to get rid of Todd Bowles to keep Liam Cohen, are you willing to do that? And here's why I'd be willing to do that, Pat. It's first time ever, or for Baker Mayfield, career numbers, but one of 10 quarterbacks ever to throw for 4,500 passing yards and 40-plus touchdowns in a season.
Yep.
Joining Marino, Manning, Brady, Stafford, Rodgers, Breeze, Luck, Mahomes, Burrow, Mayfield, Liam Cohen, year one as the offensive coordinator. How could you not keep that continuity going? You have to.
Even more impressive than that, when it comes to Baker Mayfield and the offense as a whole, I was very surprised by this as well. The Buccaneers actually put this out, I think it was yesterday, either yesterday or the day before. I screenshotted it. The only team in NFL history to complete 70% of their passes and average 5+ yards per carry for an entire season.
Yep.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
His final completion percentage was 71.4%, third in the NFL.
I mean, that's pretty sick.
It's like Drew Brees stuff.
To do that and run for 5 yards per carry as a team, That's pretty impressive what the offense did under Liam Cohen. Let me read you the list of interview requests for the Jaguars and ask you if anybody else comes across as potentially as good of a fit or maybe even better than Liam Cohen. Kellen Moore, Todd Monken. This is from the Jaguars Twitter, by the way. Kellen Moore, Todd Monken, Joe Brady, Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Patrick Graham, and Robert Saleh. I don't know why it makes me laugh that Robert Saleh's on the list.
I mean, that would be a really dumb move by Jacksonville to go with. This is for Jacksonville, correct?
Yeah. Those are the.
I mean, considering that, like, you're trying to get your offense moving in Jacksonville, you're trying to get Trevor Lawrence back on track here. Robert Saleh would be a terrible pick. If you're Jacksonville, you have to go with an offensive-minded coach, right?
I would think so. Although, again, I am somebody that believes that you may be a team that's leaning offensive head coach and get Aaron Glenn in the room and be like, okay. Like, it's kind of like what happened with Mike Tomlin, where, like, he was not the favorite for that job. And then they're like, all right, this dude's
as we've
impressive.
seen here in Tampa Bay, as long as you hire the right offensive coordinator, but it's a tough move to make. It's a tough find. That's why what the Bucs have done this year in finding Liam Cohen, a guy we were not even talking about when Dave Canales took that job as Carolina Panthers head coach, of like who would fit as the offensive coordinator. None of us were really talking about Liam Cohen right away.
What did you know about Liam Cohen before he got hired here? I knew nothing about Liam Cohen before he got hired here. And when you say that, and when I say that, like, neither one of us knew anything about Liam Cohen when he got hired here. And I say this all the time. There are guys across this league that we know nothing about that are going to be brilliant coaches. It is hard to find them. But for instance, Aaron Glenn, right? Whoever gets Aaron Glenn, he's coming from Detroit. I'll bet you there's some guys under Ben Johnson that have been coaching with him that are going to turn into really good OCs and maybe follow him, Aaron Glenn, to wherever he goes.
I love the coaching tree, the beginning of the coaching tree. And that's why they always say about Tomlin, of like, what's Tomlin's coaching tree? Nothing. Nothing.
I don't know. It's nothing.
What is it?
Well, you know what it is, too? He brings in a lot of veteran guys that have already been coaches elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so you don't necessarily give him credit for those guys.
Arthur Smith?
But so, like, if Tomlin's had all bad coaches on his staff, then he's a really good coach. If he's got all bad coaches on his staff, then he's a really good coach. Right? And again, I don't know that there's anybody you point to, like you said, and say, oh, he's from the Mike Tomlin coaching tree.
Like, I wouldn't, like, you can't say Arthur Smith is from the Mike Tomlin coaching tree. He's like, when he gets a head coaching gig again, you can't be like, well, Tomlin's guy.
Arthur Smith's been around forever.
Forever.
And those are the kind of guys a lot of times that Tomlin brings in. And I'll credit him for that, right? Like, you don't necessarily need a coaching tree if you've got a good coaching staff, right? If you're bringing in veteran guys that know what they're doing. I know Todd Bowles has got not a huge coaching tree necessarily, although I guess you could Dave Canales and pretty soon Liam Cohen, whether it's this year or not. You know, hopefully it's not this year. But it does make me nervous that the Jaguars want to talk to him, because I do think that they'll probably shy away from Ben Johnson because of the GM situation. And Aaron Glenn, you're right. I think especially for Jacksonville, where they want to save Trevor Lawrence, that's another reason why he's very much attractive there. But Aaron Glenn will get a job somewhere. I don't see it in Jacksonville.
Imagine if Mike Tomlin's coaching tree's got no leaves, and then you look at, and no branches, and then you look at Todd Bowles, who hasn't been doing this long as the head coach of the Buccaneers, and he might have 2 branches. Let's hope he only has 1.
Yeah. Seriously, at least for now. It's Liam, again, it's coming for Liam Cohen. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not next year, if it isn't this year, but still, he is a guy that's going to get a job sooner than later. All right, Casey Warner's got a job. It's filling us in on the top
lost Mike Evans 11 seasons in a row. How about them Buccaneers at number 13?
Washington, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Whoa, that was weird. Well, listen, it's time for Casey Warner and today's top headlines. Also, I mentioned that it's Waechter Wednesday. I should have also mentioned we've got Bailey Adams today at 7 o'clock and also Colleen Wright at 7:30 talking about why the change of face for the Rays. So a big show lined up for you today. But Mr. Warner, what are the top stories in the world?
First things first, a big pivotal win for your Tampa Bay Lightning last night at home, 3-2. Braden Point scores with 52 seconds left to play to lift the Lightning over Carolina. And let me tell you, I'm in the middle of trivia last night, and I get a text from my dad, huge Lightning fan, watches every game, and he says, when it was tied 1-1, he says, Lightning are pissing me off. 4-game losing streak. Power play is worst in the league. And Vazzy just dropped an easy save with his head up his ass. I may call in tomorrow and raise hell. 5 minutes later, I didn't check my messages because I'm in the middle of trivia. 5 minutes later, wait, a power play goal. They heard me bitching. Hagel for the win. And then the Lightning win 3-2. So
yeah, you had to come back to do it. They didn't score like I thought they would, coming back home and doing their thing. But what did I mention? They're top guys, and Braden Point certainly one of them, as he helped them win yesterday in the final minute. Incredible, but yeah, 5-on-5, they got to be better.
No doubt, but it's good to see them get a win. They needed one, and yesterday I said a lot of times they come back home after a road trip and it doesn't go so well. So glad that it did yesterday. I almost feel like maybe we should have Casey Warner's dad texting him his feelings throughout every Lightning game, and every Lightning update should be through the heart of Mick Warner.
I would love that.
Mick Warner's Lightning update.
24 goals for Point, tied for the second most in the league.
Kid's outstanding, man. And we've seen when they've been without him in a Stanley Cup final how much he means to this offense. And he's a guy that's always going to be important until those legs start to slow down.
So another big game in the state last night. The Florida Gators men's basketball team earned their first ever home win against a top-ranked opponent in the Tennessee Volunteers.
And they didn't just beat them, they whooped them.
73-43. How is that for a big victory over a top-ranked team in the nation? And with that, Florida Gators are ranked number 8. Tennessee was number 1, and another top 10 team going down last night in the Kentucky Wildcats. They lose by 13 on the road to Georgia. So some big top 10 upsets in men's college basketball last night.
I was looking last night at some of the lines I could maybe steal a game or two on the Hard Rock app, and I looked at that Tennessee-Florida game, and I'm like, because Tennessee was underdog by like 3 points, and I'm like,
I was wondering what the spread was.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't like that. I think they know something, and they didn't just know it. Florida crushed them. You're not going to go undefeated in a basketball. It's very hard to do that in college basketball.
But you should, if you're the top-ranked team in the nation, you should never lose by 30.
Sometimes you have a bad night, things snowball, it happens, man.
But you should.
Basketball.
You should not lose by 30 if you're the top team in the country. And I know Florida's a top 10 team. They're 8th ranked, but still, like, that's embarrassing.
Things get away from you. You're on the road. They start to snowball in the avalanche, and you let the game go.
Your men's college basketball team scoring 43 points.
You're a man.
And the SEC men's conference this year is absolutely brutal. I mean, you look at the AP Top 25 released from 2 days ago. Tennessee was number 1, Auburn number 2, Alabama number 5, Kentucky number 6, Florida number 8, and Texas A&M number 10. I was looking at the bracketology projections the other day. The SEC
Isn't
is
it a little early for that?
They do it year round now. And
but
it's never too early.
Yeah, it's never too early. And the projections currently have 12 SEC teams in the NCAA tournament. By far, I think in my lifetime, the best the SEC's ever been in men's basketball.
You crazy?
I mean, yeah, it's
the new year, man. It's bracket season.
Dude, football's going to be over tomorrow.
Yep.
Football's going to be over tomorrow. Then what are you going to do?
No, we got a month of football left.
No, tomorrow.
A month.
That's tomorrow.
And then we're going to get, listen, and then it's going to be February, right?
Pitchers and catchers.
And then what happens in February?
Pitchers and catchers.
You've got that, but also you're a month.
You got that.
You're a month away from March.
The Pro Bowl games, man.
No.
We are.
Nobody cares.
It's in Orlando.
I don't care.
The time to study up on your college hoops. Get ready for the bracketology.
Whoa.
right.
It's never too early to pay attention. If you like to watch college basketball, it's not too early ever. That wasn't my point. I'm not one of these guys that say don't pay attention to college basketball until March. That isn't my point. The bracketology part of it, like who's on the bubble right now? Nobody.
That's true.
The bubble doesn't exist yet.
That's fair.
So for Brad, and I get it. What's his name? Joe Shad or whatever the hell it is. These guys need jobs. 365 days a year.
Bracketologists, they gotta have gigs. In
They're
the
annoying. I don't want to hear about
Jerry
bracketology
Palm,
until it actually matters.
Jerry Palm, who we had on the show last year, we'll have him on again this year.
Love Jerry Palm.
But do you want him on right now?
Right now.
There you go.
We've got
this
week.
No, because you know what? You're right. You know what we got this week? Tomorrow, Thursday, college football playoff game. Friday, college football playoff game. Saturday, NFL playoff game. Sunday, NFL playoff games. Monday, NFL playoff game.
I dropped the ball. I mentioned this to Casey when you were, I think it was off the air when you were at home the other day. Why did I put this Thursday night and Friday night's college football playoff games on last week's pick'em?
He wanted to try to pad his stats. It's all right. I understand.
How does that pad stats? It doesn't make sense, Casey.
So basically, if you put 2 wins 2 weeks in a row, if you got both of them right, that would give you 2 extra wins. You know what I'm saying?
The Thursday game makes sense, but the Friday game doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I was almost, for a second, I thought, you know what, maybe we'll do pick'em on Thursday, get Jeff in on Thursday, make Beckles the guest picker. But I blew all that up by putting them on this. But yeah, they don't count 2 weeks in a row, Casey. If you get them right.
Maybe secretly you were going to and just kind of, wanted to get that over our heads without us knowing. I don't know, because you're pretty far down in the standings currently. So I'm just saying.
Doesn't make any sense.
I think my COVID's evolved into something else. I feel nauseous. I gotta eat pie.
No more pie. That's probably the reason. All right, we'll close today's top headlines down with interesting news out of the Cowboys and Bears. The Cowboys have denied the Bears permission to interview Mike McCarthy, and the Bears are also scheduled to interview ex-Seahawks coach Pete Carroll, who has not coached since 2023.
What are they doing? What is Chicago doing?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think Pete Carroll is a much more inspiring hire than Mike McCarthy.
So do I.
You don't have to hire a kid.
Yeah,
Maybe
but you
they
don't
wanna
have to hire an old man.
Maybe you believe Pete's the guy.
For how long?
Maybe they don't think it matters. Maybe they think Pete Carroll for 2 or 3 years would be so beneficial for Caleb Williams that it would be worth it.
All right, so you know what made sense? Like Bruce Arians at the end, we all knew Bruce Arians didn't have a long shelf life as far as his coaching career. Him at the end of Tom Brady made absolute sense.
But that's not when they brought him here. They brought him here to fix Jameis.
For sure. But that
Same thing.
marriage together, when you're like, okay, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians together makes sense, right? It's the end of their careers together.
But did we not say that Bruce Arians and Jameis Winston made sense? You and I were on, I remember when Bruce Arians was hired, and you and I were on TV.
Totally different.
And we talked about how great of a hire it was, and it was.
It's totally different. Jameis Winston had already been a quarterback in this league for years and had success as a quarterback. We all knew what the problem was with Jameis.
He was in the league for that long.
With 3 years?
I don't remember
4 years.
exactly
It was 4 years. It was 4 years. It was his final year of his rookie contract that Bruce came in. And it was 1 year and he was done with him. It was 1 year and he was done with him. But that is enough for me. You know, in this league, 4 years, that is enough to say, okay, either he's got something or he doesn't have something.
But they brought him here to fix Jameis Winston.
To fix him. Caleb Williams, after 1 year, and this is the problem we have in this league, is we look at one off year as a team. Like the offensive line was horrible for Caleb Williams. He was now he needs to get rid of the ball faster, but they were bad.
Yeah.
You think, and you're just going to go, well, they got to fix him.
It's not about fixing him. It's about coaching him up.
Well, you just said that
Bruce
was brought in to fix Jameis.
Right, because Jameis needed to be fixed.
Different situation.
Yes, but it's still bringing in a veteran coach to lead a young quarterback. Just because one needs to be fixed and the other is coming off of a rookie year, it's still bringing in a veteran coach to lead a young quarterback.
I like it better than McCarthy. I just don't think it's the right move. I don't think it's as insane as I don't think either's insane. I just don't know why they would do that. Why you'd entertain that.
I totally understand why a team would hire a guy like Pete Carroll if they feel like if they've talked to him and he sounds energized. The guy's been a very good coach in this league and has gotten a lot of good things out of young rosters and young quarterbacks. And by the way, I think Todd Monken is an excellent head coach candidate. Excellent. As a matter of fact, the reason I brought him up during the Jags thing, I think he's as qualified, maybe even more so, probably even more so than Liam Cohen, right? I think Todd Monken's an excellent candidate.
But
I wouldn't be any more disappointed if I was a fan if my team hired Pete Carroll than Todd Monken.
And forget about the quarterbacks for a second. What was the one thing that Bruce Arians did from the start? He helped change the culture. It's what I would assume Chicago, they would want that with Pete Carroll. He did that in Seattle.
Yeah, he's a culture guy for sure. All right, when we return, we've still got a lot to get to. There's some stuff we didn't get to yesterday that we think is very important, including a little bit of a surprise from Todd Bowles later in the show. But also, when we return, could Servassier Dennis or Chris Godwin make it back during the playoffs? We'll tell you what Todd
Goons, the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Pat and Aaron, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. We'll have our injury report with our friends from the Florida Orthopedic Institute coming up on Thursday. And, one of the questions that I don't remember, honestly, whether it was you or me or which one of us, it doesn't really matter. One of us asked, probably close to around the time Chris Godwin had gotten hurt, and then kind of had followed up as well about could he potentially, if the Bucs make the playoffs and or make a playoff run, could he be back for the playoffs? So very interested in that answer. And we did get one of the doctors recently who said he thought if the Bucs won a playoff game, Chris Godwin could be back. The other guy we've been kind of waiting around hoping might come back for the playoffs was Servassier Dennis, who, of course, was off to a great start at the beginning of the year. And the coverage in the middle of the field from the middle linebacker position got really poor after he got hurt. Well, it doesn't sound great, according to Todd Bowles, for either one of these guys moving forward. And I don't know about you, but for me, like I would have said, and I think we've talked about it, like you couldn't rely on, hey, we're going to get Chris Godwin back, or hey, we're going to get Servassier Dennis back. But I was really hopeful that we might. And Todd Bowles talked about it this week. He said Servassier Dennis definitely wouldn't be available this week. Just in general, I didn't think he sounded very optimistic about him being back. And then somebody had said and asked the question about Chris Godwin if he might be back if the Bucs make a long run, which doesn't mean win this weekend, as one of the doctors suggested, right, Aaron? And make a long run means potentially 2-3 weeks from now, maybe even a Super Bowl. And Todd Bowles said, not at this time. So it doesn't sound like there's much optimism for any return of Chris Godwin, especially.
And yeah, and like you kind of mentioned within that is it's not something we really should have been holding our hats on. If they come back, it's like a little cherry on top, right? I think that, and this is crazy to me. It's crazy that I even think this. And if I
you think crazy stuff a lot, though.
If I said this, earlier in the season, I think I would have sounded even more nutso, especially when they were both healthy. Servassier Dennis would be more important to get back for the run than Chris Godwin. Is that crazy?
I don't know if it's crazy
because their offense is still humming.
Yeah,
which is wild to me. And you got to tip your cap to not only Jalen McMillan, but for what he's done recently, but everyone for stepping up a little bit more. You talk about Kate Otten going down, who steps up, Payne Durham, right? So guys are just filling needs and next man up type of mentality. That's the offense. It's not, like you mentioned, it's not happening on the defense. It never really looked the same.
Yeah.
And if you can add that and you can get and stop the bleeding in the middle of the field and get some coverage out there, then yeah, you can absolutely make a run here in the playoffs. But you add a Chris Godwin, it adds a little more firepower to your offense, right? But then probably takes Jalen McMillan out of it a little more. And
they run a lot of 3 receiver sets, and they haven't run as many because they don't have Chris Godwin.
And I get at the beginning of the season, Jalen McMillan, rookie, like you're still trying to get him accustomed to it. Plus, Chris Godwin was the offense. He was just humming. He was having a career year. So I just I think that right now the way it is, that defense needs more help than the offense does.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I think I was more hopeful, honestly, that we might see Servassier than Chris Godwin, just based on the injuries and the length of, Servassier's been out for a long time. And you just hope that it isn't something that's going to bother him for, his career or beyond this year, because that would be really devastating if he's a guy that we look back at as, hey, remember we thought he could be really good, but the injuries just never allowed. We've had those guys. Remember Kendall Beckwith?
Yeah.
Like, that dude had some promise.
Was that another LSU guy?
I think it was, right?
So we love LSU guys.
Well, listen. They have some good football
players.
Are you
Googling?
I'm Googling. What just happened? Strangely enough, you did what I typically do, and I did what you typically do. And yes, he's from LSU, Kendall Beckwith.
We love LSU guys.
I loved Kendall Beckwith. Kendall played when I was in the locker room every day. right? When I was covering the team every day for the station and not a full-time host or producer, like I really like talking to Kendall in the locker room. He's a guy that you walk away from and go, that dude gets it. Like
Beckwith, Devin White, Quan Alexander.
Yeah.
And these are just linebackers from LSU.
It's pretty, and they've been known as a
wide
school
receiver
where you get a lot of wide receivers from, and even a lot of corners from time to time. More so than linebacker. But there's been obviously some good linebackers.
Speaking of wide receivers, did you see what Tyreek Hill, the meme that Tyreek Hill posted?
Oh no,
it's
is it on X?
It's so good. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Did he post it on X? Is my point.
I'm not sure where he posted it.
Yeah, you're talking about AB.
Yeah, so Tyreek Hill. He did post it on X. You're right. He took a picture of his head, of Tyreek Hill's head, and he put it on Antonio Brown's body as Antonio Brown was leaving. What was it, New York at the Meadowlands or at MetLife?
Yeah.
When he was doing the deuces. The last time we saw Antonio Brown on a field, and essentially Tyreek Hill's like, later, Miami.
Oh man!
But you know what? First of all, it's funny.
I don't see it. Are you sure he posted it?
It was his Avi, like it was his profile pic for a minute.
Profile picture.
Oh, it's his That's even funnier if he made it his profile.
He changed his profile picture to the face of his face on the body of Antonio Brown when we saw Antonio leave forever. But okay, so if you're a Dolphins fan, you hate this. But if you're a football fan, in general, you hated what Antonio Brown did because it tarnished the game.
Yeah.
I'd much rather you make fun of the situation and do it off the field when your season is already over. Season's already over.
He did the exact same thing Antonio Brown did. He just didn't make a spectacle of himself.
And
he didn't do it on the field. And
he has quit on his team before and not gone in games. He's just never done what Antonio Brown fully did and just literally run off the field with your shirt off.
But this past Sunday, he took himself out of the game. After
he did. He did.
So it's very similar. Although I was on his Instagram and his X profile, and neither one of them have that picture.
Probably wisened up.
Trying to see where it is. You think he changed it?
He changed it.
Well, that's a shame. That's a shame on you, Tyreek Hill. Dude, I'll tell you this. I wouldn't want the guy. That's funny.
It's really funny.
It actually that's a very good Photoshop.
It's really funny.
Looks very, very real. Like it's actually him. Do we know? Like, would you want Tyreek Hill? I would want nothing to do with him.
I would. Yes, I would. Because if things are going well, he's happy. He's a diva receiver.
Yeah, but they don't need him here. I'd rather keep Chris Godwin than get Tyreek Hill. And by the way,
cheaper.
It wouldn't be a both situation.
No, but
it wouldn't be a both situation. If the Bucs were to make a move for Tyreek Hill this offseason, it would be goodbye, Chris Godwin.
And I think Chris is cheaper anyway. I would much rather have Chris. If it was an either or, I'd much rather have Chris over him. But yeah, I'd love to have a weapon like Tyreek Hill. Who would?
I just don't want to deal with him. I don't want to deal. He listen, the younger Tyreek Hill, I'd probably put up with him at this stage of his career. I don't think he's worth the juice is not worth the squeeze, as they like to say.
How much juice is left in the squeeze of Mike
Evans?
Yeah.
I think he'd probably do maybe not 1,000 yards. I think he could still be productive for 3 or 4 more years if he wants to.
It's crazy.
Because here's the thing, and we talked about this. I can't remember if it was on this show or on the post-game show. Oh, I think it was with Rock Riley when you were out one of those days. We talked about Mike and everything, he's been to this team and what he is as a football player. And you and I have had the conversation as well. Mike doesn't beat anybody with elite athleticism. He hasn't for a long time, right? He's never really been a guy that's like the most athletic receiver in football. He's never been a big yak guy. As a matter of fact, we were joking because he just did his first hurdle earlier this season. Like, he beats people based off of being a technician. He beats people off of his size, right? His size is tough to deal with, but a lot of it is how good of a football player he is, not how good of an athlete he is. And that is so much more sustainable. When you beat somebody just off of pure athleticism, eventually it's too late for that. And for Mike, if that's how he was winning, it'd be about too late for that, probably. But the way he wins, I think he can do it for a while, dude. Yep. I think he really can. All right, when we return, we'll get into how the NFL has absolutely destroyed one of my biggest takes, since something I said should never happen in the NFL is turning into commonplace. That's coming up.
Winning the South. 95.3 WDA and AM 620.
Eight 546-4620. Am I off base here? Apparently I am. Again, 888-546-4620 if you want to jump aboard. You can also text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text lines 82945. Message and data rates may apply. I must be off base. I've been saying, and Aaron knows this, I've been saying for years that I think it makes you a bad football organization. I think it makes you look like a bad football organization, and I think it makes you unattractive to potential head coaching candidates, at least the best ones, if you're the kind of organization that fires a head coach after 1 year. I have ripped organization after organization when they decide to make the move. Because to me, if you believe in a guy, to think that within a year that you know he's not good enough, I think it's crazy. I've been saying for years, I think when it comes to head coaches and quarterbacks, we give up on guys way too fast. And now it has been, when I saw this number yesterday, which, by the way, we have not yet mentioned, I don't think, Antonio Pierce, now out in Vegas. He was fired yesterday, so Black Monday became Black Tuesday.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah, for Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. Antonio, I said to Aaron during the break, this stat makes me sick. I don't like it, but I think it signals that I must be wrong, because I can't say that it makes you look like a bad football organization, Aaron, if a third of the league has done it. And that's really where we are. Antonio Pierce became the 11th head coach fired after one season.
Second this year alone.
Yep.
Gerard Mayo.
Yep. The 11th head coach fired after one season in the past 10 years. Come on, man. That's a joke. I don't like it. I think it's gross.
Gerard Mayo, Frank Reich with the Panthers, Nathaniel Hackett with the Broncos. But, like, you can let's look at these, right? The Panthers are just a mess. Like, I don't know if that's the right move yet. That organization's a mess.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos were terrible. And we had heard some things, some, murmurs of what was coming out of that organization with Hackett. Look what Hackett's done with the Jets since as the offense coordinator. Well, he's been fired.
Yeah.
And look what Sean Payton has done with the Broncos since then. Yeah, they get Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback, but
there's been a lot of change there.
Doesn't matter.
A lot of change there.
You got to tip you think, and I know you can't really say, but
he's done a good job.
Nathaniel Hackett with a rookie and Bo Nix, you think he's doing the job that Sean Payton did?
Probably, listen,
Probably not.
Sean Payton, as much as I hate his stupid face, has been one of the better coaches in the NFL for the last 20 years. I'm not going to, just because I don't like the guy, I'm not going to discount the fact that he's a great coach.
Lovie Smith, former Bucs coach with Houston, that was just a bad hire. Didn't do anything in college, and then got back into the NFL and was terrible.
So, you know what it was? It was a weird hire. We're all like, why?
How about the Texans, from what they did, from where they were looking and ascending with Bill O'Brien and Deshaun Watson, to in 2021 they had David Culley, one and done. In 2022
he got screwed. He got that team to play up.
And in 2022, Lovie Smith, one and done. So back-to-back years in Houston of one and done. Urban Meyer with the Jags, one and done. Freddie Kitchens with the Browns, one and done.
Herb's the one guy that I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Steve Wilkes, Cardinals, one and done. Chip Kelly, 49ers, one and done. And Jim Tomsula with the 49ers, one and done. And those are back-to-back years and one and done in San Fran.
Tomsula was fun.
Yeah.
Tomsula was fun. But to me, it's have a little bit of patience with a guy, or don't hire him. If you need a guy you can trust, a guy that's been a coach in this league for years, that is going to come in here and run a I don't want to say a perfect organization, but run a football team the way you expect it to be run, then hire that guy. Hire that guy. Don't hire a guy with less experience or a guy that's young and then turn around and fire him in a year. I think, I still don't think it's the right move.
It's the same way I feel about young quarterbacks. And you look in this league of how quick we are to get rid of guys and be done with guys. I mean, Bryce Young's a great example. Jared Goff is another example of like a guy who was written off pretty quick, and he had been to a Super Bowl early in his career. Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith. There's a lot of guys, Sam Darnold. There's a lot of guys right now that are leading the way that were just completely written off. Coaches, though, Think about early on in Zach Taylor's career as a head coach of the Bengals. Everyone's like, yeah, it's probably done. He's probably done. What if I know they didn't have the desired year this year. Their defense was terrible. But what if you got rid of Zach Taylor? I mean, he's a good coach.
No, yeah, we've had that conversation. And it's just, I don't understand how we're at a point where 11 coaches in 10 years have been fired after a single season. To me, it does not make you a good organization or a smart organization. And you can catch lightning in a bottle like Houston did. I still wonder where they'd be if they didn't have a guy like D'Amico Ryans that is such a good coach that has the affection he has for Houston because he played there and was great there as a player. If that's not the case, I wonder if they're still where they're at. I mean, you get a kid like C.J. Stroud. It's a great point as well. I'll tell you what, to me, you look around at some of these ex-players and what they've done as coaches. Obviously, Antonio Pierce doesn't help that case any after getting fired by a season. Neither does Gerard Mayo. But guys like D'Amico Ryans and Dan Campbell, they've done such an outstanding job since taking over as head coaches. And Dan Campbell's my favorite example because of the fact that everyone hated him. Everyone was like, this guy's a joke. I mean, he was getting remember how much people were just talking crap about him on television?
Oh, yeah, the kneecaps.
Yeah.
The kneecaps was, at the time, like, what is wrong with this guy? And now it's like, what is not wrong with this guy? There's nothing wrong.
Did you think so? Did you think what is wrong with this guy?
No, I just was like, okay, cool. Like, you know what I thought initially? Good for you. You're excited. We'll see how you look and how you're talking in a year or two. And he is talk the talk. He's walked the walk. But Aaron Glenn, a guy from his tree, another former player who's had so much success in this league.
The Dan Campbell tree.
The Dan Campbell tree.
Aaron could have two this offseason.
Yeah, he might be one of those guys, those former players you're talking about that really can make a difference here. And then you got guys who clearly aren't former players, and Mike McDaniel, who looks like a ball boy.
I think Aaron Glenn came into the year as one of the top candidates as a coordinator. And then that defense was decimated by injuries. And he's done such an outstanding job of finding a way to not look pathetic on defense when they really could because of all the injuries, that I think he's only upped his status as a candidate with the way that defense has performed and the way that team has performed with all those injuries. Obviously, a lot of the credit goes to Dan Campbell for that, but Aaron Glenn definitely gets a ton for what's going on defense. On
the Barto 4DA text line, didn't we fire Cutter after 1 year? No, Cutter got a couple of years. I think he got 3.
Well, it was definitely more than one.
I think he got 2 or 3.
Because remember, he had the stick carriers and all those guys going nuts during training camp.
Yeah.
And was it stick carriers, right? They were very excited for Dirk Cutter. I thought Dirk Cutter was going to do a good job here. I really did. I was really surprised at what being a head coach did to Dirk Cutter. It makes me wonder if he's a coordinator, obviously, in college right now. Makes you wonder if he'll stay at that coordinator position because either he learned a lot about being a head coach that he'll take into next time, or he hates it and he never wants to do it again.
He was 3 seasons as coach, 9-7, 5-11, 5-11.
He went from like fun, almost jolly to talk to on Wednesdays when he was the offensive coordinator to like pissy every day as the head coach. Like, ugh. He did not want to talk to us as the head coach. He loved talking to us as the offensive coordinator. It was pretty funny. But listen.
It's a tough job. Head coach is much different than being a coordinator.
It is. And not everybody is okay to make that leap, which is why I'm reluctant, even though I would say I think the Bucs need to do whatever they can to hold on. I mean, they're not firing Todd Bowles after a 10-win season and a playoff berth, but I think they need to do whatever they can to try to hold on to Liam Cohen. I'm also reluctant to just be like, so make him the head coach, because we've seen it before. Not every guy is as good of a head coach as he is a coordinator. And I think it's a tough leap for young people. All right, on the other side, we're going to lead off with Bailey Adams. Like I mentioned, Colleen Wright joining us at 7:30 about the Rays ballpark. But on the other side, we'll talk to Bailey Adams about what the Bucs need to do if they want to move into round 2 of the playoffs Sunday night against the Washington Commanders. That's coming up on the other side. It's the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio, 95.3 WDAE and radio station.
Welcome back to the Pat and Aaron Show. This hour's coverage brought to you by Epic Health and Fitness. Real goals, real gym, real results. And for the realest of the results, we go to our friend Bailey Adams. He joins us from Pewter Report, pewterreport.com, and at Bailey J. Adams 22 on Twitter X. Good morning, Bailey. Are you ready for some playoff action?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm very ready. And I thought there was a moment there on Sunday where I wasn't sure we were going to get any playoff action in Tampa, but, you know, they came through in the end. It ended up not mattering anyway because Carolina came through for them. And, yeah, now we got Sunday night.
Yeah, anyone with a sensible mind, too. I think most of us who watch this football season, we're very happy that we didn't end up with Detroit or Minnesota and ended up with Washington. Will we or could we regret that by the end of Sunday?
I think there's a chance. I think this is, definitely a different Commanders team than the one we saw in Week 1. Obviously, I think Jaden Daniels has always been a confident guy, but I think there's a lot more confidence now in his game with the season he's had as a rookie. I think this is a tough matchup. I think it's a preferable matchup to, Minnesota or Detroit, but it's still going to be a tough matchup for the Bucs.
Do you put any credence into the fact that the Buccaneers are 0-4 in primetime this year?
I don't want to. I think it's easy. Like the first thought was one of the first thoughts I had when they got the Sunday night game was thinking back to the Dallas Sunday night game and thinking, oh, they cannot win in prime time. But I don't know. I think they had similar struggles last year in prime time, and then they won their Monday night game against the Eagles in the playoffs. So I think, you kind of want to push that to the side and hope they can get ready for it.
What happened? I'm still trying to figure out the details with the Jordan Whitehead car accident and the injury that he got from the accident. We got some more details, and if you want to see more, pewterreport.com is where you can find the more details. But he's on the non-football injury list. He suffered a neck injury. How severe is the neck injury? What do we know about this, Bailey?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I know from what we've reported at pewterreport.com, it is a neck injury, and at the time, from what we had heard, it was not believed to be career-ending or career-threatening, but at the same time, it might have been too early to tell. Obviously, we didn't have a lot of details on Saturday or even going into Sunday, and you kind of started to get the sense from the post-game press conferences where Todd Bowles made reference to something about people making mistakes, and you got to love these guys through mistakes and all that. Where you kind of got the sense that Jordan Whitehead might have been at fault for this car accident, and that there was someone else on the other side of it that was also in the hospital. But not a ton of details have emerged, and I think it'll be one of those things where you kind of have to wait and see what this neck injury really is and whether it'll affect him long term.
I believe he was cited for reckless driving was the latest report that I had seen. So that to me tells me that usually you don't get a reckless, even when a car accident happens that you're at fault, because I've been at fault in car accidents, you don't always get reckless driving. So it sounds like he was probably doing something dumb.
Like speeding or something?
But
he's on his way
I'm not going to speculate what it was.
It's weird because
reckless isn't usually just speeding. It's usually you're doing something pretty dumb.
He's on his way to the facility. It's early in the morning, and Bailey and Pat, I was looking at it and I'm like, all right, he's not drinking, right? He's not
Definitely
drunk.
not, no.
So for Todd Bowles to go out there and be like, yeah, guys make mistakes. Like, yeah, driving, like car accidents happen all the time.
I think he pulled a Scotty Scheffler or something like that potentially, where he was like impatient and tried to maybe he ran a red light. Maybe he tried to get around somebody. I mean, but that's pure speculation. But
can't miss practice.
Well, no, but you got to be on time. But again, it's something that we hope to have him back next year. It's not like he did anything horrific that we should be angry at him about. But getting back to the football field and Sunday with this big matchup on Sunday Night Football, when you look at the way that this offense has been producing, is Cade Otton, like, I love Cade Otton as well, but is Payne Durham maybe stepping up a little bit to the point where the Bucs might even think that he could be the number one tight end next year? Am I crazy?
I'm not there yet. I don't know that they are either. I think, kind of go back to what Cade Otton was doing when, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans went down. And this is a guy who ended up with this, even missing the last few games, ended up with 600 yards this year.
Yeah.
I was curious to see, had he ended up playing those games, not that he was going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, but how close he was going to maybe get to, 800 yards, 850, something like that, because of the way he was playing. So I think, if anything, they're probably very pleased with the progress that Payne Durham has made. And, a guy who, I think, going back to, we saw him at the Senior Bowl last year, 2 years ago now. And, he was a guy that stood out as someone who's like, yeah, that's got to be a guy who can be a huge red zone target. I mean, just the body type he is and the type of tight end he was. To not see him do anything like that, early on in his career, it was kind of disappointing. But I think in the last few weeks, you've seen that kind of emerge where he can be a big target down there. You saw a couple weeks ago, he had that big 30-yard catch. So somebody who I think they can start to rely on a little bit more too. And so it can't hurt to have both of those guys clicking.
How concerned should we be about Liam Cohen and him getting snagged by another team right now? We don't have the most openings in the NFL, but there's still some and more to come. We saw the Raiders late yesterday.
Yeah, I think there has to be some concern until, obviously until there's not, or until he goes. It was one of those things where now, after a year after seeing it happen with Dave Canales, I think everyone's even more on edge, because I didn't really see the Canales one coming. I didn't think it was, he was going to be a one and done as a first-time coordinator and then up to a head coach. But
I thought it was cute that he was interviewing.
Yeah, no, I was like, okay, cool. Like, it's nice, probably good for him to get some some experience as an interview, and then he was gone. So obviously it's been on another level this year with Liam Cohen. I think he's getting way more buzz as a candidate right now than Canales was at this time last year, and I know Jacksonville wants to interview him. Honestly, I don't know that if I'm him, I take the Jacksonville job just with the situation down there with the GM who's somehow still sticking around. And I think the ones that Scott Reynolds at PewterReport.com has pointed out were New England and Vegas. Vegas became open now. I think New England's probably going to go the Mike Vrabel route.
Yeah.
But New England is, where he's from up there and where he grew up, Patriots fan. But, yeah, I think there's got to be some concern, but I also think the Bucs are going to have to do whatever they can. I think they're going to have to make him probably one of the highest paid coordinators to keep him around, because you want to keep a top 5 offense clicking the way they are right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's funny because Aaron and I were talking about just that with Trent Baalke. Like, how does this guy still have his job? It's absolutely insane. When you look at Sunday's game, how much of a concern is it that Austin Eckler is back for that football team? He's been a guy that can really do some good things out of the backfield. And outside of Jaden Daniels, what worries you most about that matchup against Washington?
I think it's Terry McLaurin. I mean, he didn't have a huge game in week 1, but he's obviously his go-to target number 1. And I know, the Bucs did a good job with him in week 1, but I think the secondary has regressed since then. I think it's obviously so banged up at this point that a lot, you're seeing Marquez Valdez-Scantling and, Adam Thielen. And these are obviously some solid receivers, but they're kind of, on a different level than Terry McLaurin is, and I think this is a matchup that will favor McLaurin. And I think this is just a Commanders team that really has nothing to lose. I know that's probably pretty cliche, but I think they won 12 games and they're way ahead of schedule with a rookie quarterback and a roster that really didn't seem like it was going to be ready for a 12-win playoff season. But I think everything is kind of in the spot right now where they've got nothing to lose, and they're going to come in and be looking to swing at the Bucs and move on.
At Bailey J. Adams 22 is how you can find out more of what's going on in Bailey's world, and at Pewter Report, PewterReport.com. Bailey, thanks so much, and we'll catch up with you next week, hopefully after a win and moving on to the next round.
Yeah, I hope so, guys. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you next week.
You're a hero.
Thank you.
Why is he a hero?
As he moved to 7 o'clock for us.
Oh, yeah.
So that we could have Colleen Wright at 7:30.
That's right. Colleen Wright's going to join us at 7:30. We'll find out what the latest in the Rays Stadium saga is and the latest on the Trop. But on the other side, how has Todd Bowles made the adjustments that have made his defense respond so much better after the half recently? We've $10 off for you goons. Hopefully we'll see you out there. But today, National Take the Stairs Day. Let's go to Corey in Nashville. Good morning, Corey.
What's up, guys? Charlie.
Come on, Charlie. Chuckles.
Sorry about that, y'all.
No, don't worry about it.
Jeez Louise, man. I'm listening to Bailey Adams. Man, I get that it's the playoffs and you want to go in there with a little trepidation and be safe with your statements, but he just might as well put on a Commanders jersey and pick the Commanders. Jesus, he sounds so terrified of that team. I'm here to tell you, as an objective football fan, I'm just going to be real with y'all. We're going to beat the Commanders. It's not going to be like week 1, but we're going to clearly be the better team Sunday night. Just letting y'all. I don't know who needs to hear that. Apparently, a lot of people in Tampa need to hear that. A lot of national media people need to hear that. We are going to be the better team on Sunday, like we are the better team.
I'll tell you what, Corey. I agree with you overall, but I also understand why some Bucs fans would have a little trepidation about the game after the way they performed against New Orleans this past Sunday.
Man, okay. I ain't gonna say much about that, but we know how division games are. We in any division, the first team, the fourth team, we know how division games are. That's if we want to have some balance. Let's just go week 17 and week 18. Those are 2 division games. Let's just split them down the middle. Week 17 look like a dominant team. They boom, boom, boom. Then week 18 we play another division rival. And we'll just split them down. That's just how the divisions go. And
but how about this, Corey? Look at the 2 games before that. You look great against Los Angeles, and then you didn't look very good against Dallas. So they've been up and down.
I wouldn't say up and down. I'd say there were moments. Let's say there's moments. The Cowboys got 2 turnovers that you won't see all year, let alone in the same game. Those 2 turnovers that they got, you won't see in the same game or let alone all year. Those are 2 of the greatest turnovers I've ever seen from defensive backs in one game. We've had moments. But
even if you take those away, they didn't play well. They didn't play well that day. It was like they didn't play well on Sunday.
We didn't play well against it. I thought the physicality of the Cowboys kicked our butts. I thought they were the more physical team, and that showed up in the box score. Even if we would have won that game, I would have thought I would have been nervous about the Carolina game had we won that game. But I called to say, because I've been laughing a lot on Twitter, going back and forth with Falcon fans and Panthers fans. I just want to make this very clear, and I want to say this on radio waves. The Falcons and the Panthers, they have as fans, they have the right to be excited about their young QBs. But I just want to calm them down a little bit and make them understand that the Bucs were the second youngest team in the NFL this year. And as great as your quarterbacks may be in the future, we still have the best quarterback in the division. That's all I want to say, man.
Hey, great stuff, Corey. Thank you, buddy. 888-546-4620 if you want to join the show. Second half adjustments have been huge for the Buccaneers, really saving the season.
That's what I thought, Aaron.
They have by not giving up points especially in the last game, right? Dallas, you didn't end up winning, so giving up 3 points didn't matter because you didn't end up winning that game. But my thing is, you have to come out in the first half better than you have been. You have to come out ready to go. Todd Bowles did speak on those second half adjustments. Well, really, not even adjustments, just coming out in the second half.
That's why I said I thought it was adjustments.
Not really adjustments, just coming out in the second half looking more aggressive, which we'll get into it after you hear these comments of why that, for me, is a problem.
It's not a whole lot of adjustments. I mean, there are things we talk about. We just play more aggressive in the second half once they see things. I don't know why that is. We keep trying to start out that way, and we talk about it. We know that's happening. We know what's going to happen, and a lot of different parts with the different guys playing, but we just got to play that way for 4 quarters, and they're capable of it.
That's concerning to me because if you're not making any adjustments at the half, that just means that you should be playing like that and you're capable of playing like that in the first half. It's not a game plan issue. It's a guys getting ready to play issue, and it's always been my thing with Todd Bowles. I know these guys love him. I know they love playing for him.
I think it's hard to put that on Todd Bowles.
I mean, if you love playing for a guy, show up.
Yeah.
Show up.
Period. And it shouldn't be about who you're playing for. Show up. And if you're not showing up, I'm not putting that on your head coach. If you've got the ability to do it and you can come out in the second half and show me you've got the ability to do it, why the hell is it your head coach's fault that you didn't come out of the locker room ready to do it?
What's the point of the head coach?
Now.
Well, what's the point of the head coach then if he's not going to be able to do that?
Talking about they plan the entire game. I know they have coordinators, and for Todd, he doesn't on the defensive side of the ball. At least he calls the plays on the defensive side of the ball. But the whole point of coaching isn't to teach guys how to motivate themselves. Like, yeah, it's part of it. Man, it's part of it. But you know what? I'm sorry. If you can come out in the second half and play that way, if you know they knew what was on the line on Sunday, and if they needed Todd Bowles, what does he need to do before the game? What does he need to do before the game to make sure they're ready?
Ask Dan Campbell. I don't know, because Dan Campbell seems to get his guys ready to go. Detroit was ready to play. Listen, was it an offensive juggernaut for the start of that game? No, it became that for Detroit towards the end of that game, but that defense was ready to go. That offense, they got moving there, and Detroit started off with eventually they took that lead early in that game in the first quarter with a touchdown. They were ready to go. That's it. Like, I don't know what Todd Bowles has to do. I'm not that guy, but it does seem like...
There's a lot of teams that with good coaches that come out flat. It happens all the time.
Pittsburgh's an example of that recently as well. But, if you are a team that knows what's on the line and you go out there and you look the way... Total lack of motivation and energy like the Bucs did on defense and offense, really, to start that game. And then you look at the Lions, and it's a totally different story. Yeah, prime time, but you're playing for the number one overall seed or number one seed or the fifth seed. So there's a lot on the line there. Buccaneers are playing for the playoffs, so it doesn't matter where you want to put that on the pedestal of which game is more important. They both had a lot to play for, and Detroit showed up, and the Bucs didn't.
If I don't show up tomorrow, you blaming Nick Wise?
It's so different, man. It's so different. Nick's not day to day, like in here on us. You and I are coaching ourselves, right? But
we're also self-motivated. We also want to have fun and do a great job at this. And I feel like football players should want that too. And you shouldn't need a coach to kick you in the ass to show up for the biggest game of the season.
But if it's something that you do need,
and this is still the second youngest team in football. This happens with young football teams. And you know what? The fact that they've showed up as often as they have, despite all their injuries, again, I think Todd Bowles, in a lot of ways, deserves a lot of credit.
I don't know what Todd's doing behind the scenes, but if I'm Todd, I'm getting on those guys and going, whatever the hell you're doing to motivate yourself to get ready out of the half, you need to do that to start the game.
But clearly, he's just said. He said they're talking about some things, but he's not lighting a fire under anybody's ass at halftime. He's not. And I can't wait to talk to Ian about this tomorrow and see what Ian thinks about if Todd Bowles needs to get those guys ready to play. If you can't get ready to play for an NFL Sunday, shame on you. Yes, the game plan and getting the team prepared to play is one thing. But to be ready on Sunday afternoon to go run through a wall for your teammates, you shouldn't need your head coach to tell you that.
I mean, it's hard to run through a wall. If you want to talk about the game plan, when you're playing such soft coverage and you struggle with tackling anyway, it's hard to run through that wall and make things happen. So you can talk about the motivation factor, or hell, you can just talk about the game plan. And the game plan's not that good. Second half, going into the end of the half.
Well, hold on. Was the game plan good in the second half? Because you just said they're not changing that many things. So it's about it's about performance. And to me, if you need somebody to motivate you, or it takes you a half of football to get ready to go, that's not on the coach. It's not. I can't put that on Todd Bowles.
End of the half, soft coverage, when they marched down the field and scored a field goal. Who are you putting that on?
Todd Bowles. We've had that, dude. It's a totally different conversation. And we've had that conversation. I've sat here and ranted and raved about stop playing soft zone coverage. I'm not saying the guy's perfect, but if it's about guys not being ready to go before the game, that's on them, dude. That's not on Todd Bowles.
Yeah, I think it's on both of them. I think certainly you have to put some on the players, but listen, there's some of the duties of the head coach in my mind. That's part of it, is motivating your guys.
When the Patriots were the best team we've ever seen for 20 years, do you think it's because I was going to tell these guys to get really fired up before the game, and they went out there and performed because of the energy that I bring to the ballpark every day, because everyone's going to play hard because of Bill Belichick, because I got the energy? No. Those guys did their jobs.
Then it's up for the leaders on defense to step up and take control of that as well and motivate your guys, right? It is. All right, on the other side, big conversation to have with Colleen Wright. This hour's coverage brought to you by Epic Health and Fitness. Real goals, real gym, real results. And Colleen Wright of the Tampa Bay Times, at Colleen_Wright, has been giving us all the real results when it comes to the Rays Stadium saga. Colleen, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me back.
Can you help us, please? Because the twist and turns here. We hear months ago Brian Auld, Rays president, doesn't think that the Trop should be repaired, doesn't think it makes much sense. Now, with everything happening months later, now he does think that the Rays do think that the Trop should be repaired. What's going on?
Yeah, New Year, same saga. That's exactly correct. The stadium, as we know, during Hurricane Milton, the roof of Tropicana Field got shredded. And repairs would have been underway by now. The city council back in November actually did approve. They had the votes and they took the motion. They approved $24 million to start replacing the roof. And, minutes later, just shortly after, Rays President Brian Auld told reporters, actually, we don't really believe that it'll be done in time for opening day 2026. Of course, they're going to play 2025 at Tampa's Steinbrenner Field. But we don't believe that this is going to be, come in on time and at the estimated cost, which the total cost is $56 million. 24 is just for the roof. It's 56 for all of it. That is on the low end. And we don't believe that that's going to come in on time and at cost. And we'd rather just have more certainty and come up with another backup plan versus coming up with like a parallel plan. So the city council then, went back and took down the funding when they heard those comments. And here we are, December 30th, and the other Rays president, Matt Silverman, says, actually, we would really like the Trop to be open in 2026. He didn't explain why or why the flip-flop. He put in that letter, we want to clear up some uncertainty, but the uncertainty was all on the Rays end. The mayor said back when a report came out saying, hey, it's going to cost $56 million, we can get this done in time for 2026. You can be back in the Trop just 1 year later. And so uncertainty has been on the Rays. They're now saying, quote, that they support and expect these repairs to be done. But now you're going up against a new city council member, a new city council. You've got 2 new members on there, and you can kind of view it like a landlord-tenant situation. But I think the votes might be there for them to go ahead and approve it. But we'll see. They've got till March to do that, is my understanding. That's the last they said in December, for it to be open in 2026. And the Rays acknowledged in their letter to the mayor's office on December 30th that they would be playing three years if that's the case. But interesting letter. They did not explain the flip-flop.
Why do you suspect they've had an about face on this?
I mean, it's just pure speculation, so I can't totally speculate. I don't know if they're out of options. They realize this is the best one. Maybe it's more cost effective. I really do not know. They didn't explain. We kind of, it's been said that Steinbrenner was really only a year deal. There's a lot of logistics that go into, paying the Yankees and running out that field. You've got Major League Baseball involved, which was also interesting because in the letter, Matt Silverman kind of name drops Rob Manfred, the Major League Baseball commissioner, saying that Manfred told them that the city indicated that the Trop would be repaired in time for opening day 2026. But as I just said like a few seconds ago, that was the case from the moment, the city put out a report saying, yeah, we can fix the Trop for $56 million. It'll be open by 2026. So it's not like it's not like they're saying Manfred had privileged information. I don't know why they name dropped Major League Baseball. But in this whole saga with what we saw back in December and November with these bonds being financed for the new stadium deal, because that's what's looming in the back of this, right? Why replace Tropicana Field when it was supposed to be demolished and, cleared out for a new stadium? Rob Manfred was in town talking with Mayor Ken Welch, talking with Pinellas County commissioners, and putting his thumb on the scale. And it's not clear, and it does not appear as if Manfred and Rays owner Rays owner Stu Sternberg were on the same page or had the same agendas. They might have been, having opposite. There might be competing agendas here. Yeah. So unclear what's happening and where the pressure's coming from, but it seems like there might be some pressure coming from Major League Baseball.
And aside from just the repairs to the Trop, we have the issue now that the bonds have been voted through and approved. They've been approved. Where's the stadium as far as the construction is concerned? Because we were told by the Rays that the 21 days, and Chris Lavala, Commissioner Lavala, put this on Twitter. Yeah, I'll actually read the tweet. He said it took 21 days after Pinellas BOCC delayed the bond vote right after 2 hurricanes for the Rays to claim the project would cost another $200 million and be delayed by a year. It's been 21 days since those bonds have been approved, and he asked, when does the construction start, Rays baseball? I think that's a pretty good question, Colleen.
Yeah, it certainly, they're talking about these delays and, again, we talk about like these repairs would have been underway if it wasn't for, Brian Alt speaking up. And so I don't know what changed on, like I said, on the Rays end. However, when it comes to the new stadium deal, the Rays have until March 31st this year. So they're on the clock. We've got less than 3 months. They have to meet like a checklist of conditions including proving that they have $700 million to build this new stadium. Before it was opening day 2028. Now it's looking like opening day 2029, if at all. And they've got to prove and evidence that they've met this like checklist, and that's how they would get the ball rolling to access public funding. And if they don't do that by March 31st, there's no deal. The verbiage in the contract is it automatically terminates. So it was like nothing ever happened. It was like the last, 2-3 years of work gone.
The Rays yesterday put out an announcement about Fan Fest being down at the St. Petersburg Pier this year. And the first thing I thought was like, how do you put this out and still nothing on the stadium? Are you surprised that they're just kind of, it's almost like they're like, nothing's going on, nothing to see here?
I don't know. I think they're a business and they're going to do business things. In December, I wrote about how, in the middle of all of this of like, and remember, we were talking back then that the Rays were done and they were over it. And now, of course, they're kind of locked in after these bond votes from the city and the county. But the Rays were saying like, they're leaving town. There is no deal. And that may be the case. I just want to be clear, but like, we'll know with certainty in just a bit. But I wrote a story about how the store at Tropicana Field was still open for the holidays, and they're selling merch. And it was actually the only place you could kind of go inside and like get a peek around of the damage, because there's tarps on the floor and taperware, and you can see people in like hazmat, protection walking around. And they were still selling that who knows where they were going to play. So they're a business. I think businesses are going to business.
It's the most wild roller coaster I've ever been a part of when it comes to a stadium. And Colleen Wright, you have been all over it, done a tremendous job for the Tampa Bay Times, tampabay.com, at Colleen_Wright, and of course at Tampa Bay Times at TB_Times. Great work, Colleen, and thanks again for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Colleen.
The stadium saga goes on and on and on. It's not going to happen.
Aaron, what is the second biggest roller coaster you've been on when it comes to stadiums?
I clarified it because I was like, I wanted to add, because I was like, it is a crazy roller coaster ride they've taken us on, but it has nothing to really do with baseball on the field. It has everything to do with the stadium. I don't know. Renovations at Ray J were pretty wild. I gotta tell you, pretty wild time. Speaking of a wild time, Pat, it was a wild time in my life for a little while because I didn't have the right car.
That's right. And now it's a wild time in your life because you do have the right car and you feel like you're having a great time every time you drive your car because you're driving a Mazda 3, just like I am driving a Mazda 3. I bought mine a couple years ago. Aaron just started leasing his a couple months ago. But if you want to celebrate the new year in a new Mazda, do it with my friends at Mazda of Clearwater. Right now, you can get many of their models, many of the 2025 models at 0% APR financing. So find out for yourself why Mazda of Clearwater is not just the highest volume dealer in the Tampa Bay area when it comes to Mazdas. They're also the highest rated on Google. That's right. It's not just me saying they're the best dealership ever. It's everyone else that goes there as well. Find out for yourself. They're on US 19, just south of Roosevelt and East Bay Drive, or, of course, go online to MazdaofClearwater.com. But I always say, go in person and find out for yourself why it really is the best.
3 WDAE and AM 620.
Game of
Under.
See, I told you it was over.
Are you ready?
Over under time, and this hour's coverage brought to you by Epic Health and Fitness. Real goals, real gym, real results. Casey Warner, what do we have today?
We got a big weekend of college football and pro football coming up. And when I say weekend, I mean still during the middle of the week, but it might as well be an early weekend with Penn State and Notre Dame kicking off tomorrow night on Thursday. So with that said, over under 45 total points in that matchup, courtesy of the Hard Rock Bet app.
I'm going to go over. I've got this thing. I'm going to call it right now. It's just barely over. 27-21 Notre Dame.
It's going to be really close. And I'm actually going to take the under. I think this is one of those games where these teams just beat the living hell out of each other, and there's a lot of 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And, I'm going to take the under.
That was the Notre Dame-Georgia game.
Yep.
And I said that, hey, my favorite bet on that is the under. I think it was 47.
Was it under?
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't remember the final score.
All right, in our Friday matchup, there's been a lot of talk about Ohio State's impressive victory over number 1 Oregon and how they match up with Texas. They're a 6-point favorite currently on the Hard Rock app. So over under a 6-point victory for Ohio State against Texas on Friday night.
I want to pick Texas. I don't know that I can pick Texas. I'm going to take the under, just hoping for holy hell that we don't have to see Ohio State look dominant again, because I hate it.
My picks have been terrible this year. There's no hiding from that, but I'm rooting for a close game. I want to hope it's a close game, and I think this matchup could give us a close game. So I'm going to go under. I think Texas covers that spread, and I might just for fun sprinkle a little on the money line because it's fun.
I think Texas' defense will definitely make it more interesting than the last couple games for Ohio State.
I really hope we see that too. I think it's going to be under a 6-point victory for Ohio State as well. A lot of talk.
I hope
this
it's a
week.
loss.
Yeah, that'd be great too. A lot of talk this week about if Justin Fields is going to get some reps. It was reported this week that Mike Tomlin said Justin Fields could see some reps against the Ravens on Saturday night in the wild card matchup, Steelers at Ravens. So over under 99.5 total yards for Justin Fields and Steelers at Ravens on Saturday night, a struggling Steelers offense.
That's running, that's passing, that's everything. I'm going to go under. Listen, I think this is smoke and mirrors. Mike Tomlin, listen, he could utilize him in the game plan. We've seen it before, but I don't think it's going to be a lot, so I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I don't think it's close. I agree with you. There might be a package. There might be a handful of plays where they want to utilize Justin Fields.
And we've seen that from him throughout the season.
Yeah, but 100 yards, no. Way under. Way under.
If Mike Tomlin knew what was good for his offense, he'd play Justin Fields because Russ ain't getting it done. Not against the Ravens.
Did you remember the beginning of the season or no?
Oh, I did, yeah. The Steelers started out 4-2.
Yeah, they
weren't scoring any points, though.
Their record was good.
Than Russ.
No, there was a time there. Lately, Russ hasn't looked great. And for some reason, they haven't utilized Justin Fields in the offense throughout the last couple of weeks, whatever. But Russ, for a while there, actually looked really good. And he protects the football for the most part.
And he can stretch the field, which Justin Fields doesn't.
Yeah, the deep ball that you get from Russell Wilson is just you're never getting that from Justin.
I want Justin Fields to be the better quarterback because I hate Russell Wilson. I think he's a weird dude. But
I hate him.
I don't know if hate him's fair.
Hate him.
Listen, I don't respect guys like that. All right, I don't.
Weirdos. All right,
guys who aren't good teammates.
Yeah. No, I understand what you mean. The parking space, the office, yeah.
Steelers on a 4-game losing streak, Ravens on a 4-game winning streak.
Yep. All right, next up, another playoff game worth noting this weekend is the Bills and the Broncos. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix in his first ever NFL playoff start. Over under 220.5 passing yards for Bo Nix in that game on Sunday at 1 p.m.
Teams throw the ball when they're trailing.
Yep.
And
Bingo.
I expect the Bills to put up points, and I expect the Broncos to be trailing, and I expect that even though he won't have enough to get them over the top, they're going to need him to try. I'm going to take the over.
I agree completely. I actually might even take a 300-yard game from him on the Hard Rock because that's going to be valued pretty high, but I think they're going to be fighting back.
That's a lot.
Bo can throw, man.
Yeah.
Bo can throw.
Bo knows throwing?
Bo knows how to spin.
How have they not? Have they not, like in Denver,
can't
I
steal
wonder.
it.
No, you sure as hell
You
can.
can't steal it.
If I'm Denver, I'm Bo nosing all over the place.
Nah, you're not allowed to do that.
All right, a couple
I'd bring
more
Bo
here.
Jackson in for it, too.
Yeah, that's what we do, though. You and I just take things. We're not allowed to do that.
Couple more here in relation to your Buccaneers and the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. And that wild card matchup over under 10.5 touches for Rachaad White Sunday night against the Commanders. He's had 10 or less in each of his last 2 games, and he had 21 touches way back in week 1 against Washington.
Under. It's the Bucky show. And you'll get some Rachaad White mixed in there, but you can see how I don't know, you use it or saving him or whatnot, but it's the Bucky show. And even Sean Tucker in limited, touches last week looks so good.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I think we're going to see a lot of both Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. I think that with a front 4 as good as Washington's, and the how tough they are up front, they make it tough to run sometimes. I think that we're going to see a lot of the screen game on Sunday night, and I think Rachaad White is involved in that as well as running the ball a little bit as well. I think he has 12 to 15 touches.
Okay,
last week just non-existent.
Last week was a weird game, man. They barely touched the ball in the first half. Like, would he have gotten 15 touches in that game, 12 to 15 touches in that game, regardless? Probably not. I think because of the matchup against Washington and their defense, I think Rachaad White is a bigger part of the game plan than people would probably expect.
All right, 1 over, 1 under there. It'll be interesting to see what Rachaad White does on Sunday night. It'll also be interesting to see if the Buccaneers defense can stop Jaden Daniels. Over under 285.5 total yards for Jaden Daniels against the Bucs on Sunday. He had 205 total yards in week 1, but he did have 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, he led the team in rushing in week 1, and I won't be surprised if he does it again. I'm going to take the over. I think he's a better passer than he was in week 1. I think the Buccaneers are Washington's going to score on Sunday night. The Bucs are going to have to outscore them. So I'll take the over on this one for total yards.
I'll take the over as well. I think, somewhere around 300 between the air and between his legs, somewhere around 300. I was just looking at Baker's stats, and what an incredible season. 4,500 yards passing, 41 touchdowns, so over 70% completion percentage. Finished 4,500 on the dot.
I know.
So
I saw that earlier.
The Mike Evans to get him to 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Got him exactly to 4,500, which is, it's a historic mark to get to that 4,500.
I wonder how many guys have thrown for over 70% completion percentage and also 16 interceptions.
It's such a good point. Because I was going to tell you the exact amount of players to have 4,000 yards passing and 40 touchdown passes with 70% in the season. It's 3.
Yeah.
It's Drew Brees, Joe Burrow, and Aaron Rodgers.
I bet those guys weren't picked 16 times.
But you're absolutely right. That's an anomaly to have 70% plus and completion percentage, but there's 16 interceptions.
It's got to be, yeah. I wonder how many guys have done that. Because like Eli, for instance, threw a bunch of picks. I don't think he was ever over 70%. I mean, maybe 1 year or something, but not often.
Baker didn't throw incompletions. He just threw interceptions.
Yeah.
They weren't incompletions. They were just intercepted balls.
Throw some more incompletions.
All right, Waechter Wednesday coming up on the other side.
He's ready for us.
Doug Waechter is ready for us. We're ready for him. How are you feeling? How is your body holding up right now? Are you dealing with any injuries? Well,
let me tell you. Oh, no, sorry, I didn't.
You don't have to anymore. If you're one of those people like Pat, if you're dealing with an injury, reach out to our friends at Florida Orthopedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital. We're going to have Dr. Selman on tomorrow because tomorrow's Thursday. We're going to find out the latest what's going on with Antoine Winfield Jr. We'll find out if we can get him back here and find out what the latest on the injury front with the Bucs are. But if you're dealing with an injury, you don't have to do it any longer. Make sure to make that appointment today.
That's right. Dealing with that injury that, we're talking about the Bucs dealing with is one thing, but dealing with your own injury is a whole nother thing, and you want to deal with that the right way. And like Aaron said, making that appointment's easy to do. Just call 800-FL-ORTHO
DAE and AM 620.
It is Waechter Wednesday here on the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Doug Waechter hasn't even been here for 5 minutes. He's already disappointed in Aaron Jacobson because Aaron Jacobson, of course, was that button. The button's broken, Doug. My apologies.
Yeah, every time I sit in this chair, you guys you shut off the mic. Aaron makes fun of me. Then I get upset with Aaron before we even get on air.
I had never heard of this film that you just introduced me to.
Dude, blowing my mind. You're blowing my mind right now.
Do we think Casey knows about this movie?
No chance. But Casey, how old are you?
Just turned 27.
I bet he's heard of it. I bet he's never seen it. The Three Amigos.
No.
Oh my God!
Now that I'm looking at the picture, now that I'm looking at the cover art of Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin,
I've heard the term.
Martin Short.
There is a plethora of laughs in the Three Amigos. You got to watch.
Do you think it's still,
I can't even say quotes from the movie now without getting a laugh. It's
from '86. Do you think this still? Do you think it still holds up?
Yes, dude, it's timeless, man.
I'm sure there's something that people would call offensive.
Like if I go watch
is it?
I don't know.
Like
it's an '80s movie.
Nowadays.
I mean,
Pet Detective.
Have you seen? Tell me you've seen Caddyshack.
I have.
Yes.
But like that's not funny anymore either. Like Airplane.
You don't
those
like
movies?
those? You don't like those movies? Oh my God, that is like those are my favorite. Spaceballs.
Blazing Saddles.
Great. I didn't watch Blazing Saddles.
Spaceballs
I
all-timer
watch,
for
but
me.
do they like hold up? I watch them. I'm like, this is corny.
I think they're better than the movies coming out now.
Nah, that's crazy.
Oh,
that's crazy
gosh,
it's crazy talk.
Last good movie that came out.
You saw
Top Gun 2.
That's a new movie. That's good.
The Bob Dylan movie.
Oh, was that good?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah,
it was really good. I forgot the name of it already.
What about great comedy?
I saw Gladiator 2. That was entertaining, but not the same.
I don't go to movies anymore. I watch on demand.
Okay, so on demand. What's the last great comedy you watched?
The Hangover.
Oh, that's like 10 years old.
The first one, that was like 08.
Relax over there.
Casey wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big movie guy.
If you don't like Spaceballs, you're just too cool for school.
I like Spaceballs.
Hey, did you see there's a Happy Gilmore 2 coming out?
I watched.
That we have to. Oh my God.
What, together?
Shooter McGavin.
I
gotta see the negative COVID test before I watch a movie with you.
I've got back-to-back.
I'm not snuggling with you unless I get a negative COVID.
I've got back-to-back COVID negatives.
I've got a brilliant idea, positive right now. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
brilliant?
Yeah.
You say brilliant?
Yes.
It's going to be terrible.
Yes. Yes.
I would say mediocre is my thought.
We get one of our brilliant AEs, all right?
I don't even know what an AE is.
That's one of our account executives here at iHeartMedia.
Very fancy.
Yes, very nice way of saying salesperson. One of our brilliant account executives here at iHeartRadio. And we get a partnership in some way with a local movie theater, where, by the way, they probably need some more patrons lately.
Yeah.
With a local movie theater. And we have like a Doug Waechter, Pat and Aaron show, Happy Gilmore watch party with a bunch of goons.
I would do
that. Sounds great.
I would do it.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I'm down for that.
I would do it. I mean, the goons is one thing to meet everybody, and that's always fun, but Happy Gilmore, too. Like that, I'm going to see it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I was so excited to have Doug Waechter in here today. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the segment that this hour of the Pat and Aaron Show is actually brought to you by Green Tech Roofing and Solar. This is Smart Roofing. And by the way, if you didn't know, they just fixed T-Kraz's roof. So great company.
Speaking of roofing, latest with the Trop. We're looking at the repairs of the Trop here.
Think we get Green Tech on it?
I don't know about that.
I think Green Tech could take it.
Doug, twists and turns, never ends. The Rays didn't want it. Now they do want it. So what do we think is going to happen here when it comes to...
Listen, I mean... this negotiation's been all over the place, right? And I think everybody would agree to that. At this point, I am very hopeful that things find a way, right? I think both sides are showing that, hey, look, we're pot committed to the point where let's get this done, right? In my opinion. And, look, I'm a St. Pete native. I played for this team, right? I broadcast for this team. I analyze for the team. I'm a representative in a way.
You are, and you love this organization.
I am so biased toward this. I love this organization.
Mm-hmm.
I truly love it. I also love my city. I love my town, too. Tampa Bay area, not just St. Pete. I love the Tampa Bay area. I want to see this work out so bad. I really do. And I'm just I'm one of those guys who is just saying, all right, they're going to get it done. They're going to get done. I know everything's been playing out. Some things look negative. Some things go this way, all over it doesn't matter. I feel like they're going to get it done. Time frame of it, I don't know, but I'm just hopeful they do.
Aaron called me a poet yesterday.
Okay.
Because I said, we don't need a hero. We don't need a villain. We just need a ballpark.
Yeah.
I threw an expletive in there, but I with you here.
Yeah, Billy Boy.
With you
Bill
here, I didn't want to throw the expletive in there. But are you surprised at all about the about face on the Trop from the Rays? Because it was, Brian Auld said may not make sense to repair it, and now they're like, hey, yeah, we want you to repair it.
I think everything is just happening so fast. I mean, who prepares for all these kind of situations, right? And I think that, I'm not surprised that the Rays want to move forward and get the Trop done and try to get in there for next season. That would be best case scenario for everyone, right? And I think that's what they're saying right now.
Yeah, and we didn't have time to talk about this with Colleen Wright, Aaron, but I'm not sure how you guys feel about this. But to me, I look at the situation and let's just say it gets started a little late because we have had a delay since the original opportunity to start fixing the Trop, right? So let's say maybe it's not done for opening day 2026. Maybe it takes an extra couple weeks. Maybe it takes an extra month. Couldn't they get creative with the schedule just like they did this year? And they got creative with the schedule and front-loaded a lot of home games before the weather gets weird, right? That's the way they did it, right? More home games in the beginning?
Yeah, they have a lot more home games.
Couldn't they kind of flip the script and say, hey, you know what? It's not going to be ready for 2 weeks. It's not going to be ready for a month. Maybe we're able to use a minor league ballpark for a month, but maybe instead of that, we just get creative and say, hey, you start the season on the road for a little bit, and then we've seen it with basketball teams that have circuses and crap at their arenas. Like, this happens sometimes where you have to get creative with the schedule. Couldn't we just do that if it's not ready for day one?
When they've got circuses and crap.
Yeah, I don't know if you can compare it to us. I don't know about that. Well, look, I mean, you've seen MLB has been able to step in and, with scheduling and other things this year, they can get creative with that. Yes, but I think the fear is that it's not going to be a couple weeks. It may leak into half a season or more, and you got to think. They got to run a business. The Rays have to run a business too, right? And you can't lose all that capital and still run a business the way that you're supposed to. So I think that's their fear, and it's a legit fear, right? We all know construction. Everybody who's done a renovation in their house. I mean, my God, when's the first time that's ever been on time? Right? I'm going through a renovation right now, and it's been great. It's an absolutely they're doing a great job, but the timetable is just everything's kind of up in the air. So I think that's the fear on the Rays side of things is that, they continue to lose a significant amount of capital if they can't get back into Tropicana Field on time. So a lot of things up in the air, a lot of things I try not to speculate on. If they're saying they can get it done in time to start the season next year, then, man, get it done. Let's go.
Drew Rasmussen, he avoided salary arbitration. He agreed to an $8.5 million 2-year contract. Now, $8.5 million, 2 years, with the potential in the deal to make worth $28 million over 3 seasons. What do you think of this deal?
I think Rasmussen is going to be a big part of the season next year, the following season, and potentially, you look into the third year, but it's always backloaded.
Especially
right?
with the injuries he's had. You got to be careful.
So here's the thing with the injuries. You can look at it one or two ways. Doctors have been in that elbow a few times.
3 times.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, that's becoming more common just with the way injuries are. Science has definitely gotten a lot better from where it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, right? And so now they say when you go into an arm, specifically an elbow, you're buying another 7 to 10 years of health in that elbow, right?
And to your point, he was still averaging over 97 miles per hour on the fastball after the third elbow surgery.
Okay, so basically, after that surgery, if you're trusting the technology and the science putting in that elbow and that surgery went well, then you're trusting the fact that he's going to be healthy, hopefully, knock on wood, for the next few years. You can't predict that, but you're hoping he is. With a brand new elbow, and granted, there's revisions in there, but yeah, you got another elbow, and you base it off of what you saw from him, right, last year and what he showed you. His stuff was electric. Like, when he came back, he was electric. He's still throwing strikes. This guy's a bulldog on the mound. They know the potential of what he can do for you, and they know how important he's going to be. They know he can also be, I don't know if they're going to go in there and specifically have him start, if he's going to be in a reliever role, if he's a swing guy.
And he went into relief last year.
He can do anything.
35 strikeouts over 28 and 2/3 innings after that injury.
He's a strike thrower pumping 97 to 100 miles an hour. What do you not like about that?
Yeah.
So I love it. I thought it was a great move. I really did.
Can you believe, Doug, that 2025 is already here? You know, with a new year comes new hope, new optimism, and a time to start fresh and look ahead. At International Diamond Center, Doug, or anybody else, they're so excited to be part of the special moments in your new year. They've even expanded their selection for this new year. IDC's diamond inventory has never been better. All sizes, all shapes, all real, natural, precious diamonds at the best direct importer prices. And it doesn't stop there. IDC is showcasing all the new styles and trends in engagement rings and fashion jewelry inspired and created by the world's premier designers. No one has more fashion-forward jewelry than IDC.
Plus, you got to check out their amazing Swiss watch collection. It really is mind-blowing with a fabulous selection of pristine, pre-owned Rolex watches. So as you look ahead and you plan for a new year, remember International Diamond Center, locally owned, internationally connected, and they've got a staff of non-commissioned experts who are going to guide you every step of the way so you can buy with total confidence. Welcome to 2025. Let IDC help you celebrate with what matters most in the new year, your love. Tampa, Clearwater, Lakeland, and Sarasota. ShopIDC.com.
All right, if you've been listening to Waechter Wednesdays long enough, you know we don't just bring Doug Waechter in here to talk Rays baseball. He's a Tampa Bay guy, big Buccaneer fan, and obviously the Bucs heading towards a playoff game on Sunday night. They could be in trouble, though, with teams and people sniffing around Liam Cohen. We're going to get Doug's take on what the Bucs should do and ask Doug, as a guy who played Major League Baseball, what the impact is when a locker room, or in his case, clubhouse, loses somebody as important. Pat Aaron, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. I was just telling, I couldn't even find the picture off the top real quick during the break. I showed Aaron the picture and anybody watching on the live stream yesterday. But I was telling Doug Waechter about the fact that one of our listeners, David Hersey, wants to bring us candied ribs, he calls them, with candied bacon and jalapeno on them. Pretty amazing. By the way, don't forget the 8 o'clock hour of the Pat and Aaron Show, brought to you by Green Tech Roofing and Solar. This is Smart Roofing. They look amazing.
Based off the name alone, I want to try them.
Yeah.
Candied ribs. I mean, how do you say no to that?
I wish I could find the damn message.
2 seconds ago, I just told you guys I'm thinking about going plant-based, and now I'm like, oh my God, I'll eat ribs for breakfast.
I know, it's the most disgusting thing you've ever told us.
You guys talked me out of it.
We're like, we don't want to be your friend anymore.
I said it thinking I was going to get some support, and you guys are like, what are you talking about?
You saying that hurt me worse than COVID.
All right, I immediately take it back.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Where's the bacon?
I need it.
It's on the ribs.
I know.
Hopefully by that time I'll be able to taste food again.
Oh, you still can't taste food? What kind of symptoms did you have? No,
all of them.
No taste, couldn't smell?
Yeah, every symptom that ever has come with any
You still
sickness.
have them?
Yeah. No, as far as the no taste, no smell, everything else is good. My ears are
I think
popped.
he still has COVID.
No, I don't. 2 negative tests in a row. I got picture proof. Picture proof.
You didn't show me that.
No,
I want a timestamp, too.
I'm dealing with, I don't have that. I'm dealing with long COVID.
What is that?
I don't. You're making things up
self-diagnosed
now.
yourself?
Dr. Aaron's
He's
diagnosis.
had
Is this a
COVID
WebMD thing? You guys ever go to WebMD and you're like, oh man, my foot hurts, maybe, and then you look it up, you're like, oh my God,
I gotta
amputate.
I've had AIDS 7 times.
Oh my God, he went all the way there.
Jeez,
he went all the way there.
Based on what I've read from WebMD, I've had everything in the book at least 5 times.
Oh my God, those candied ribs look amazing. I could never go plant-based.
So long COVID's a real thing. I'm a weekend.
Is it really a real thing?
I don't know.
No, it's not.
But
Yes, long COVID is a real thing.
Where'd you hear this?
Fauci.
Very similar to what you were just talking about.
So, like, what's a long COVID?
When you start
Googling
2 weeks,
so you won't smell anything or eat or
for
taste
like
anything
2 years. Long COVID.
Yeah. Well, you said you want to get healthy, so if you can't taste anything, you might as well eat healthy.
I had a panic attack yesterday.
Aaron, you should
About what?
Google long
All of
COVID.
it.
'cause you're
Everything about life.
You should Google long COVID, Aaron, because you're going to realize that you sound silly.
Well, obviously, I know I'm
It
only a
happens
week
way
into this
after.
thing, dude. It's a joke. I'm kidding.
I
But
like
it
the
isn't-
plaid hoodie, by the way.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's like very Christmassy, even though it's past Christmas. And
I'm like a lumberjack sometimes.
yeah, you
minus,
remind me of a lumberjack, minus the muscles and the real beard
like
and
doing like a axe swing.
masculinity. And
Dude, I am.
You know what you look like, right? Do you remember years ago when they knocked down that wall at iHeartRadio?
Yeah, and I couldn't do it with the axe.
everybody else was
No.
everybody was swinging a sledgehammer. I bet Aaron had a little like one of those handheld hammers in his hand, just trying to knock down a brick.
Here's the funny thing. It was a sledgehammer. I won't even lie. It wasn't even that Aaron wasn't like strong enough to swing the sledgehammer. It was that he was like afraid to swing the sledgehammer.
I
was
figured
afraid
the
of
sledgehammer was
so he like
swinging him.
ran up in the most dainty way and was like, and just like, into the wall. It was one of the funniest. I actually have a video. I'll
It's
show you
because
during
I'm
the break.
worried about like it coming back at me and hitting me in the noggin.
What?
Yeah, sledgehammer.
It's actually on. If you go to the Pat and Aaron X page,
You guys have video of
it's
this?
still pinned as part of that little introduction.
Do we have?
video.
Can we unpin it?
No, because it's the Welcome to the Goon Squad video.
Why is that in the video?
Which is so. Your brother did this video, if you recall.
Yeah,
I do, but
Josh.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be in it anymore with that act. It's because it's very like
I just don't understand the thought process. You got a sledgehammer and you're scared to hit the wall because of recoil?
because of recoil. Yeah, isn't that a natural thing to be
Look,
scared?
look, he does it, and then look, he does it. And it's going to be coming right up,
Did you
and
see
then
that dunk?
That was
That's a good dunk.
awful.
That's a good
Dude,
dunk.
I would have rejected that dunk.
That's a good. Oh.
after he does it, he runs.
Yeah, I just stuck it in there.
It's drywall, man. You were talking like it was brick.
Drywall,
It's
wet
dry.
wall.
You can
it's all,
punch through drywall.
It all
Oh my
scares me.
god.
It all scares me.
Oh yeah.
I
You-
once
you
saw-
remind me of a construction worker.
Yeah.
I once put my head
Very
through
tough.
drywall because I wanted to punch a wall. I was a teenager, right? You know, I wanted to punch the wall because my little brother was doing little brother things.
At
And
home, you put your head through
I
drywall.
knew if I punched the wall that I would punch a hole in the wall. So I headbutted the wall, and I ended up breaking it with my.
You're
Lucky you
an
didn't hit a
idiot.
stud.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
thank God.
Idiot.
Yeah, that's aggressive.
Is this news to you?
That is aggressive.
That I was an idiot?
No, but it explains a lot now that you're putting your head through walls.
So, all right, the Jaguars have asked to interview Liam Cohen, to which all Bucs fans, Doug, are a little bit nervous, I think. None of us want Liam Cohen to go. From your perspective, a guy who played Major League Baseball, right? When you lose, and obviously it's not going to happen during a year, but like when you lose a coach to another team or a manager to another team, a guy that's been a big part of successes, what does that do in a clubhouse? Like, how much do you miss a guy like that? Is it something where you just kind of move on and you don't think a lot about it? Or
I think certain personnel miss certain coaches more than others, right? I mean, Baker Mayfield obviously would probably be the guy who would miss him the most, in my opinion. I'm just guessing that, but he works hand in hand.
It is a tough comparison with baseball, isn't it? Because baseball, there's not as much game planning.
Not necessarily, because, look, I had pitching coaches that I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
And that either left or I had to go to a different team or whatever it is. And one of the hardest parts was leaving that pitching coach, because the big thing is the trust that you build with these coaches, right? Yeah. And when you get a really good relationship with a coach, you trust what he's telling you, and he's your eyes and ears, and you feel like when you go on that field, you're not alone, right? On the mound, it can be a very lonely place.
I bet.
If you're giving up a lot of runs, you're in the middle of Yankees lineup back in the day when, Jeter, Sheffield, A-Rod, all these guys, you got to face them in Yankee Stadium with 50,000 people, screaming against you. You got bases loaded. You need to know who's with you in that situation, in that moment. When your pitching coach comes out and talks to you and slows you down a little bit, tells you, hey, look, your hand is it's dragging out of the glove. You need to get it out quicker, and that's the only thing you need to change, and you'll be right back in there. He settles everything down, right? Same thing, I'm sure, with Baker is when he goes to the sideline. He can go talk to Liam Cohen. And he's like, hey, look, what'd you see on that read? This is all you got to do next time. These are little subtle adjustments that he can just be there for him, be that support he needs when he comes off the field, knowing that he's got somebody in his corner. I think with Baker specifically, I mean, he's had a lot of different offensive coordinators here recently. And I think it'd be more frustrating than anything else. Now, I say that. Liam Cohen, I got to hear him speak at an event probably a month ago, maybe, with him and his dad. And Liam Cohen's awesome. Yeah. I'm a big fan of this guy. Everybody's a big fan of this guy. But I think if you read between the lines, this guy's destined to be a head coach somewhere at some point in time. Is it going to be next year? I mean, as a Bucs fan, I hope not. I mean, I like the guy. I want what's best for him. But, I want him to stay. I want him to help dominate in Tampa Bay. And so I'm hoping he doesn't go, but I think this is just the beginning. I think a lot of teams are going to want to interview him. And if I was an owner, I would absolutely want to interview this guy.
Doug, on the other side, I want to get your take on this because you played, football, of course, professional baseball, and I think how players in baseball get motivated is very different from how players in football in the NFL get motivated, and what your level of when you go out there, how amped up you are. I think in baseball, a lot of times you don't want to be too amped up. You want to be level-headed. You want to be going there comfortable and confident. I think in football, of course, you don't want to be too amped up, but I think that level of how amped up you get for the start of a game is different. I want to get your take on the other side of motivating, and whether it's the head coach's job, the main job to go out there and be the motivator, or if it's really on the players to go out and motivate. We're going to do that when we come back.
All right, but before we come back, Doug was here around Cinco de Mayo. Aaron was out that day. Aaron really missed out because Doug and I had some. Well, actually, Doug didn't get to drink that morning. Yeah, I had.
You were working and you drank.
I did
while you were working.
It was impressive. That's what I love about this job.
Casey was crushing margaritas,
and he was sober.
Well, our friends from El Bandito Yankee Tequila brought us some amazing margaritas, and at least, even though Doug couldn't drink that day, he got to bring some home
later.
And we've all found out here that El Bandito Tequila, it is so smooth, it is criminal. You can get it at Lucan's, at all the best liquor stores around town. Make sure you get yourself some El Bandito Yankee Tequila next time you want tequila. All right, when we return, we'll get into the motivation. Is it on coaches? It is on managers, or is it on the players? That and a lot more. Also, something Doug said about how lonely you can get on the mound. I was thinking about, we'll get into some things about what else is lonely like that, right? Like a putt, a free throw. Where else can you be that kind of lonely like you are on a pitching mound in sports? A lot to get to with Doug Waechter on a Waechter Wednesday on the Pat and Aaron Show.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Craving a dose of excitement? Head over to Pin Chasers, the heartbeat of family fun in Tampa. Our lanes are buzzing with laughter, strikes, and mouth-watering food. Whether you're looking for a family outing or a thrilling night with friends, Pin Chasers is the place to be. Plan your next gathering at pinchasers.net and experience the Pin Chasers difference. We guarantee a great time, or it's on us.
Hey, it's Mark with PG Men's Health. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? We've got a groundbreaking solution that's transformed the lives of thousands of men. Our acoustic wave technology is backed by over 50 clinical studies, including research from Cambridge University. It revitalizes blood flow by repairing blood vessels, all without the need for pills or the worry of side effects. If you're ready to get the blood flowing where you want it, when you want it, call us now. Not only will you get the exam, the assessment, even the blood flow ultrasound completely free, but for those who call today, we're also throwing in your first treatment free. This is worth hundreds of dollars, and it's yours free if you call in the next 2 minutes. Call 877-755-MENS. That's 877-755-MENS. Guys, it's time to reclaim your love life and put an end to your erectile dysfunction. Call 877-755-MENS. Locations in both Tampa and Sarasota. Call PG Men's Health now to qualify. 877-755-MENS.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code NEW5 to get up to a $5 bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code NEW5 to get up to a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code NEW5 to get up to a $5 bonus on your first tank.
Old Spice Swagger Body Wash will make you the MVP of freshness and confidence. With its irresistible scent, it will transform your shower experience, leaving you feeling fresh on and off the field. Pair it with Old Spice Swagger Deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
Experience the Anna Jar Levine difference. Call 1-800-747-FREE.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Another chilly start to the day, and it's going to stay cool pretty much all day. Mix of sun and cloud, more sun than cloud, but our high only gets up to about 58. Overnight, a bit of cloud and a bit colder. A low will drop down to about 39, 40 degrees. Tomorrow, Thursday, just like today, mostly sunny and mostly cooler. Our high right around 58. Get weather info around the clock by searching News Radio WFLA on iHeartRadio. I'm John Thomas.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off. Free UPS shipping and add code radio for an extra 5% off.
1,000 plus Mike Evans, 11 seasons in a row. How about them Buccaneers at number 13?
Beat Washington, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
It is a Waechter Wednesday on the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Don't forget, the 8 o'clock hour of the Pat and Aaron Show today brought to you by Green Tech Roofing and Solar. This is smart roofing. So I think it's roofing and solar, Doug. So we could get them on the drop to do the roof. You never know.
Doug, Pat and I were having a conversation earlier about first of all, the coaching duties of a head coach in the NFL and a guy like Todd Bowles. And specifically when it comes out, like the defense not coming out to play in that first half. And really for a while now, that second half, they've come out much better. And Todd Bowles said it wasn't a change in the game plan or adjustment in the game plan. So I'm thinking, why are the guys not coming out on fire, ready to go, motivated? And then I brought up Dan Campbell from Detroit. I'm like, those guys seem motivated all the time from start to finish. So Pat tells me, Doug, it's not on the head coach in the NFL to be that motivator. It's on the players. And I disagree with him. Of course it is on the players to assist in that. But I think it starts with I think it starts with the head coach, and then it filters on down to the players. A little different from what we see in a Major League Baseball clubhouse. But what are your thoughts on whose job in the NFL, as a guy who played football himself that you did, whose job is that?
Well, I mean, if you're not self-motivated, you're not going to make it to the NFL, in my opinion. You're not going to make it to any professional level. At least at that high of a level. You might make it to either the minor leagues, you might get your way into maybe a college or something else, but you're not going to get to the top of the peak if you're not self-motivated and if you can't get up for a game. You flat out won't do it. Now,
I said to Aaron earlier, Doug, like, if you can come out in the second half and perform, then you should have been able to come out at the beginning of the game and perform. Yeah. And if you don't, I can't put that on your coach that you weren't ready to go.
Right. Well, look, I think with football it's different from other sports because you play one game a week. And so I think we're all used to seeing, captains of the football team get in the huddle and try to get everybody jacked up. And then all of a sudden you see video of head coaches screaming before a game to get motivated. But honestly, I appreciate that, but it's up to the player. I mean, if you're not going out there ready to go, and you got to know how to get yourself going, in my opinion. Yes. I mean, in baseball, football, basketball, it doesn't matter what sport you're going into. If you don't know how to get yourself up for a game, then you shouldn't be there.
It can't hurt, though, to have the coach in your face like, let's go.
And I understand where you're coming from. I think it's the coach's job to step in at times. Mm-hmm. And if he sees, a trend in your team, hey, look, we're not starting the way we should, then maybe step in and say, hey, look, we got to change it up before the game starts, not just at halftime, before the game starts, so we have better first and second quarter. But to do that every single week, it's not on, in my opinion, it's not on the coach to motivate him. These players need to be self-motivated. I mean, they need to get up there, and they are, they just got to find a way to get the best out of themselves for 4 quarters and not 2.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more on that. And it's frustrating. It definitely is. But for me, it's hard when a professional athlete isn't ready to go at the beginning of the game to put that on his head coach.
I just like coaches breathing fire. I like that.
But you know what,
I do too. I appreciate. I will say I appreciate the old school approach from coaching. That the reason I do is because that's what I grew up in.
Yeah.
Right. I had Lou Piniella, and you literally didn't talk to Lou Piniella as a player unless things went wrong. Right?
But I think you can argue that Bill Belichick was old school, but he wasn't fire and brimstone, right? Tony Dungy, I think a lot of people would say is old school, but he wasn't fire and brimstone. I think there are different ways to lead, and I don't think you have to be. I love Campbell, like I love what he brings to the table. I just don't think it's necessary.
Bill wasn't fire at the podium, but Bill got after his guys more so than we see Todd Bowles.
I think how do you know that?
When have you seen it on the sideline? Him angry and yelling. Never see that with Todd Bowles.
Listen, one of the weirdest things about Todd Bowles is, and some people are just like this. Some people, it's their personality. When things are going worst for the Buccaneers, look at Todd Bowles on the sideline. It's almost like he's got a grin on his face because he's so frustrated. He's like almost laughing, like, Jesus, what's going on here?
I think he's just even keel.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that too. I've had even keel coaches, and when you're going well, it's great, but it's really when things aren't going well. And your coach isn't just slamming the panic button. Yeah. He trusts in you as a player. He trusts in his team. Yep. I appreciate that. So I actually like the demeanor. I think you can get a lot out of your team from that demeanor. Tony Dungy was that way.
Yeah, and we've heard from players that Todd Bowles is very fiery behind closed doors.
Right.
Last week when he said to TJ Reeves going into the half, we get a couple of defensive backs with their heads up their asses. Like, I imagine he went into the locker room and let those guys know you got your heads up your asses and you got to do something about it. Like, to me, I think when it comes to how they start games and when this team comes out flat, I don't know who to put it on, but I have trouble. And you were a good athlete, dude. You didn't need coaches to.
Pat's pointing at me.
I was going to say, who are you pointing at? I'm over here.
No, Aaron was a decent high school baseball player, right? I've seen him.
He went from good to decent.
I've seen articles about him doing things.
Now you're going to say, he dressed out.
Doug, let him talk. I want to hear it.
I've seen articles about
uniform
Aaron actually making plays in the newspaper. I can tell you.
I just saw him with the sledgehammer. He could barely get through drywall. You think he can hit a ball in the gap?
3 sports star.
I don't know about that.
3 star.
Sports.
But to me, it's hard. And again, I was never a great athlete, but I know when I got to play, how hard I wanted to play. And I didn't need anybody else to put that in me.
No.
And I wasn't good. I wasn't these guys who get to the NFL, and I didn't need that.
Let me say 2 things. So, first of all, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Right? We have no idea. We just speculate. We don't know if Bull's going out there and really getting into the team, whatever it is. And we've heard he has, but whatever it is, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think the captains are a part of firing up your team as well. Mm-hmm. I think the leadership from the players really can help if you're seeing a lack of intensity at any point in your team. I think that's where the captains kind of step in as well, not just the head coach. I mean, I've been on plenty of teams with veteran guys who you're not even getting to the head coach. You got to go through the leader of the team, the veteran, and it's almost worse to have to deal with that.
Doug, that's why I said to him earlier, that's why it's players that you see down on the field doing the breakdown before the game, getting guys amped up, getting in guys' faces. Let's go rip these guys blame.
Well, they're going to be on the field with them, and you got to understand that. So
that's why I think your teammates should bring energy to you. But again, at the end of the day, when you step onto the field, I think you should have that as an athlete who wants to perform at every single level, and that's only because I know I had that, and I wasn't any good. And these guys who get to the NFL are the very best.
You really think Aaron was a good athlete in high school?
Thank you.
I think he was a decent baseball player.
Looking at him right now, you think he was
scared to death in football. He's admitted that.
He was one of those guys.
There's no way you played football.
Look, Aaron was one of those guys that helped the team GPA, and he was like a clubhouse hero. He was friends with everybody on the team. He was a good teammate.
I was a captain my senior year.
What was your GPA?
I was like a 3.1 guy.
Yeah.
That wasn't great.
That's bringing it.
I was a captain my senior year. Pat's right. Not the best athlete. Baseball. Not the best athlete. Good baseball player. Okay, basketball player as a point guard who could run the show. Wasn't great. Football.
Run the show. You made it rain.
I made it. I did. No, I run the show. That's not making it rain.
Running the show on a court.
Okay shooter. Pat see me shoot. I'm an okay shooter.
Aaron's old enough that like when he played point guards, passed the ball. That's what we used to do.
Short
back in
shorts.
the day.
I'm a good
super
handler.
high socks.
Yeah, love those.
Real baggy undershirt, so it looked bigger.
Good handles. Okay shot. Football, wide receiver, good hands, okay route runner. More so like my speed was because I didn't want to get tackled.
Like a Wes Welker?
Yes. I'm more Edelman because of the Judaism.
I want to get into something. I want to get into something you said really quickly before we get to the break because I found this interesting. You mentioned that, and I think all of us who have just watched baseball have thought about this, like how lonely it can probably feel out on the mound. I was thinking as you said that, there are not very many instances in sports where you can feel that amount of pressure and loneliness kind of all by yourself, right? I thought about the free throw line and a big putt. Like those
I would say golf.
Those are the ones I actually wrote those down.
Penalty kick, penalty shot.
Even the penalty kick, I just don't know if it'd be
It is.
if it's as
I don't know about penalty kicks either because you got like 4 guys lined up behind you. Like everybody's going to
more than that. They're all lined up.
However many, whatever. I think
and it's an opportunity more than like I could F this up. You know what I mean?
I think golf and baseball are the most similar when you're talking about the mental side of things because there's so much time in between pitches. There's time in between shots.
Well, not anymore.
If you give up a home run, you got to go back out there and continue to move forward and forget what just happened 5 seconds ago, and you got to erase it from your mind. Same thing with a putt. You just missed that 3-footer that could ruin your round. You got to forget all that and go off to the next side.
Yeah, while you walk, whatever, how many hundred? What is it? A couple hundred yards between holes or whatever.
Free throw's the worst because you miss a putt. Guess who that affects? Who's that on? It's on you. It's a solo sport.
Well, the mound's the same.
Mound's the same for sure, but it's repetition. You're pitching. That's what you do.
Yeah, but you give up a home run.
A free throw, yeah, true, but a free throw, that's something that happens within a game. It's not something you're like the main free throw guy. So you're like going from playing the pace of the game to standing at that line. Essentially, it's all on you for your team. I think that's the hardest.
But then you miss, and the ball's in play, and everybody's doing something else. Whereas if you give up that home run, you get to stand there while the guy rounds the bases, and all your teammates.
I think free throw is the easiest because nothing changes. There's no variables. Like you're on the same line every time. The hoop is 10 feet high. Like nothing changes.
All it takes is one little.
The putt changes. Everything about golf changes on the shot. The pitch. That all changes. Who you're throwing against. I mean, what are you talking about?
One little what? That's what I'm wondering. One little what?
It's like your finger. It's like when I golf, right? There's always one little thing that happens in my swing that changes the swing. Same thing with free throw. Like if my finger moves the wrong way, it changes the rotation of the ball, blah,
one
blah,
of
blah.
the worst, I love you, one of the worst comparisons you've ever made.
I've got a lot of bad ones.
Because, and I'll tell you why.
I've had a lot of bad ones.
I'll tell you why.
To rank that
I can handle a basketball. And if I couldn't, I could pick one up and go down to the rec center and go shoot around and eventually develop a pretty decent shot all on my own. If I sit and shoot free throws all day, I'm going to get pretty good at it. If I take that stick out without any training, man, I mean, I've had you show me. I've had trainers, like actual golf instructors show me, and I'm still awful at it. So
golf is a hard sport.
It's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
So I just think it's too tough of a compare. You know, it's an easy sport, Aaron.
Well, easy
betting on horse racing.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, the sport ain't easy, but going and winning some money, Tampa Bay Downs, that's what I'm talking about right now. And guess what, people? It's Wednesday, free admission on Wednesday, and they are now open 4 days a week for the best world-class thoroughbred horse racing around. Today, Wednesday, free admission. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Check them out, TampaBayDowns.com. But you get to go out there. You don't have to go. You can go out there by yourself. Bring some friends, bring some family. Go out and have a good time. Make a day of it. Make a weekend of it when you want to go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But an opportunity for you to win some money. And this weekend is no different. They've got coming up on Saturday the Wayward Last Stakes.
I love that one.
The Pasco Stakes, and by the way, the Wayward Last Stakes, $100,000, $150,000 for the Pasco Stakes, and $150,000 for the Gasparilla Stakes. It's going to be a great weekend. Only at Tampa Bay Downs, so you can check out that schedule as well. TampaBayDowns.com. Make sure you go hungry because you're going to go out and get some great food, get some good drinks as well. Only at Tampa Bay Downs. Live it up at the Downs.
I'm telling you, Waechter Wednesdays, Dignitary Thursdays, the fastest hours of the week here on the Pat and Aaron Show. We've got one more segment with Doug Waechter coming up.
Can I say one thing before break?
No, not at all.
We were talking about, okay, well I'm going to. So we were talking about free throws and how easy they are. My middle school coach from St. Paul's Eagles, St. Paul's Elementary, just texted me and said, you should not be the one talking about how easy free throws are. I know, and I do know for a fact, Mike Killinan, he was my coach, I know for a fact I was under 50%. Under 50%. So he called me out, and he's probably right.
All right, love
so
that.
maybe it's not easy.
He's my best friend.
One more segment to go with Shaquille O'Neal in studio on the Pat.
The Blender.
The Blender on the Pat and Aaron Show is brought to you by Mazda of Clearwater. If you're thinking about a new or pre-owned vehicle, the choice is clear. It is Mazda of Clearwater. And with interest rates on the way down, many of the models right now are at 0% APR financing. And don't forget the 8 o'clock hour of the Pat and Aaron Show today, brought to you by Green Tech Roofing and Solar. This is Smart Roofing. Casey Warner, he's pretty smart. He wraps us up in the Blender every day. Casey Warner, what do you have for us, young man?
What I got is an elderly man in Major League Baseball still getting another opportunity. 42-year-old Justin Verlander agreed to a $15 million contract.
You're an a-hole.
With the San Francisco Giants.
For baseball.
In 2024, he pitched 90 and a third innings. He had a 5.48 ERA and 17 starts. Doug Waechter, can he put out another decent season for the Giants, making $15 million this season?
Yes, I think it was a good sign by the Giants. I just think that Verlander you don't ever bet against a Hall of Famer. This guy's a walking Hall of Famer. I think he's still got stuff in the tank. I think he'll find a way to have a really good year out there. I saw Charlie Morton signed also, didn't he?
He's so consistent.
Mm-hmm. That guy, man, I thought he was done after he played with us, and then all of a sudden he goes to the Braves, wins a ring.
We were supposed to be his last stop.
Yeah.
We were
just
supposed to be
keeps
his last
going,
stop.
man. It's crazy.
We need to get Bartolo Colon back in the game.
Yeah. Jamie Moyer.
Yes. Jamie Moyer, I pitched against that guy. I remember the day he pitched. I saw him in the gym in the stadium. This is when I was with the Marlins. I think it was a Marlins.
What was he doing in the gym? Just hanging out?
He was running on the treadmill, running before his start.
Yeah. Was that when he's pitching against you?
Yeah. So
did that intimidate you?
No. I blew my mind. I'm like, why would this guy do this right before he goes out on the mound? I mean, he was.
It was right before the game?
Dripping sweat. So because Moyer, you guys know Moyer, he threw it like 80, 82 miles an hour. Yeah. He wanted to be exhausted when he got out to the mound. He did not want to be amped up. He wanted to be exhausted, and he thought he was better when he was really tired because he had better feel for the ball. Movement. It just wasn't, it was a very sluggish type feeling. And so he goes out there, and I mean, dude, he threw 7 innings that night. It was unbelievable.
You ever hear that from another guy?
Never in my life.
Yeah,
I've never said that. Dude, I hated going on the treadmill after I threw.
I hate looking at a treadmill, all right?
It's no good.
So, Doug, I got to ask you this as well. It was pretty cool last night at my trivia gig. I ran into an old friend whose dad is actually Dave Martinez.
Oh, nice.
And Dave Martinez was actually at my trivia gig last night. I was just in the middle of a restaurant, so I didn't want to, make a scene or anything. But did you get to play with
no,
Dave
he
Martinez?
was like I wouldn't say generation. He was just before me. So Davey Martinez, he was out by the time I got up to the big leagues. But I missed him just by a couple years.
You should have asked the question, who hit the first inside park home run for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays?
Who was it?
It was Dave Martinez.
Really?
It was Dave Martinez.
Wow.
Yeah. So you recognized Dave Martinez, though, right away, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I know
he didn't.
I know his son.
Because Aaron, didn't Aaron have somebody in his
Well, he's
condo?
friends with his kid. That's different.
Okay.
Leave me alone.
His son actually trained with me when he was going to try to do DJing, and we got to know each other a little bit. And we were going to do a podcast, but then he just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I didn't even see him until last night for the first time in years.
This guy hung out with you at a bar and then disappeared? I'm not shocked by that by any means.
Well, I mean, he was supposed to be an employee, It wasn't like we were just shooting the bull at the bar. But
So you said you didn't want to cause a scene about Dave Martinez because you're in the middle of it. Where would you cause a scene? That's what I want to know.
He was with his family, and there were servers around, other people. I didn't want to get up in the middle of trivia and go talk him up and talk about hey, can I get your number to be on the radio or something like that. It was a good idea, but I didn't feel comfortable doing it in that situation.
Is there a celebrity you would cause a scene for?
Frank Thomas. For sure.
Really? Frank Thomas?
Oh, gosh. The Big Hurt. My favorite of all time.
Oh, man. I got a good story about him.
I remember.
Yeah. I got a really good story, but yeah.
Is Doug Waechter a little like me, Aaron Jacobson?
Yeah, definitely. He's got a story for everything.
No, I definitely have one for Frank Thomas.
And we both repeat stories.
Oh, you guys heard that?
Oh, yeah. Even Casey said, I remember.
Yeah,
and Casey's heard it less than
Hey, Casey's never even seen Caddyshack.
You tried to stare him down, right?
No, I didn't. It was a good one. Benches were cleared.
Somebody on the text line, Davey was my Little League coach. Davey's out and about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he resides. He and his family reside here in the off season.
Doug.
Reside. Who uses the word reside?
It's Casey. Where can people find you real fast, Doug? on the socials?
Doug Waechter.
10.
Doug Waechter 10. Yeah. I was like, what did you just ask me?
Nailed that landing. Nailed it.
Doug, thank you as
Waechter
always.
10. Yeah, thank you guys.
That's all we have time for today. For Doug Waechter 10 on social media, for Aaron Jacobson, for Casey Warren, the penalty box, I'm Pat Donovan. Thank you to the men and women who serve our country and allow us to be morons for a living. Sorry, Mom. Not the rest of you.
3 sport